Well, we'll be monitoring what's going on in China, over the next few hours with the President of the United States and President Xi as well. But as we get it rolling on a Thursday morning, I want to start right here in Kansas City. I want to begin with the fact that we are now in a place on basically the eve of the World Cup coming to Kansas City where 75-year-old businesses have to change their hours of operation, have to change their model because they don't believe people can be safe in and around their establishment at all hours of the day. If you didn't see it yesterday, Town Topic's Broadway location announced that they would no longer be opened 24 hours a day. And I just think that's an absolute shame. Not just because, after a few beers, if it's 1 o'clock in the morning, there's not a better burger in Kansas City than Town Topic, but also the fact that it says a lot. It says a lot about the fact that a local multi-decade business who has gone about its business the same way for years upon years upon years now feels like they can't keep people safe. So Town Topic put this up on Facebook yesterday. It has been seen by tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Kansas Cityans. And they note to our Kansas City community and customers, we are temporarily adjusting our hours to reevaluate how we're going to move forward in a way that's safe for our staff, our customers, and our community. Until further notice, the Town Topic at 2021 Broadway will be closing at 8 p.m. instead of being open 24 hours. This has deeply disheartened our staff and company as a whole. So right there, you've got people that are losing work. Don't just think about it from the standpoint of when you can go get a burger when you're, a few shots in, but think about it too from the fact that you have cooks, you have people in the wait staff. I know they just throw you the burger across the counter, but you get the point. You get people who now are looking for work, who maybe were working the overnight shift, the late night shift. They just lost their jobs. They lost their jobs because, as Town Topic writes here on Facebook, we have pleaded with the police department and Crossroads over the years to help support and secure the area around our restaurant. Unfortunately, we have not received adequate support to make this happen. They note here we've exhausted all of our resources in an attempt to keep Town Topic safe for our staff, customers, and community. Unruly crowds that loiter in the unstaffed and unsecured corner lot next to Town Topic, where the shooting happened on April 26th, have increased safety concerns and budgets over the last years. We've reached a point where we don't feel comfortable serving our customers during the overnight hours. How sad is this? And this comes a day after Kansas City decides we'll allow the bars to stay open until 5 a.m. during the World Cup as long as they submit a security plan.
I want to scream, but it's too early, so I'll just let Alex Jones.
I know. It's fine to let AJ do the heavy lifting around here once in a while. It's too early for Mark to be yelling into the microphone.
It's upsetting.
It is. I mean, I used to live, half mile down the road, and I'll tell you what, man, those Town Topic burgers, I think my father-in-law fell in love with them the first time he came to visit us. He was running out the Town Topic every chance he could get. And I'm looking at this story, and I'm looking at this from a Kansas City perspective and thinking, here's a longstanding tax-paying business employing regular people, and they basically said the city failed them. That's what they're saying here. The city has failed them. I mean, they're right there on Broadway. They're not sitting in some back corner alley. Okay, fine. If you go kind of in the back corner there's some sketchy parking lot spaces and things like that. I get that, but that's just kind of how, older parts of any major American city look. It's not unique to Kansas City. And they feel like they can't keep their people safe. They feel like they can't keep customers safe. And clearly, they also alluded to this, the security costs during the overnight hours when you're not doing a lot of business to begin with compared to daytime just made it an untenable situation. And I find this disheartening, but I also find it awfully ironic that one day after the city tells bars they can stay open until all hours of the night, we've got a business saying, yeah, we do that, and it's not really safe to do that anymore. That's the irony of this entire week's news cycle in this town. 913-408-7957. I do want to note, too, because this was a long post from Town Topic, they did make it very clear. We want to note we're not putting blame on the police who are working every day for all of us around the city. They note that in this post. They go on to say we have the utmost appreciation and respect for their service, especially our off-duty police officers and the KCPD Central Division who are on the streets and working for our greater community. So they did give a shout out to the police. We appreciate them, and I'm glad that they did that because that's the right thing to do. It's not the run-of-the-mill cop who is, patrolling that part of Kansas City. It's the fact that that cop in that part of Kansas City, if he's able to patrol that part, doesn't have the support that he or she needs. That's part of it as well. We still have a police department that I know is on the upswing when it comes to recruitment. We talked to Chief Stacy Graves about that last week. But don't forget that there's still a couple hundred officers short of where they should be right now at about 1,500. They're at about 1,300.
And we have a surplus of a couple hundred a-holes to hang around and do nothing.
Well, we got that going as well.
And that's where the blame goes, too, that we even need to do this.
You're right about that. I totally agree.
The hooligans are hooliganing.
Well, they are. And, when it comes to the World Cup and these bars being open all hours of the night, I'm not really worried about the international hooligans. I'm worried about our hooligans. That's who I'm worried about. I'm not even sure that the international hooligans are going to be showing up at the bar at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning like people think they will. I'm worried about our hooligans doing hooligan things that have led to, while yes, we have a violent crime rate that has trended down this year over year. That's a good thing. It has still been an incredibly violent multi-year run in Kansas City, the most violent multi-year run Kansas City has seen. That's what I'm worried about. In the peak of summer, when naturally crime goes up because people are out and about, living their lives, doing things, out late, no school, whatever, we're now potentially just absolutely putting fuel on top of that fire. When Kansas City right now has a pretty good story to tell, right? I mean, it's been a rough few years, but if you want to latch onto it, you can latch onto a story right now that violent crime is down anywhere from 15 to 20% from last year so far. That's great. Are we going to throw all of that out the window for bars to stay open until 5 a.m. in key entertainment districts if they submit a security plan? And we're doing this right after Town Topic says, yeah, it's not safe for us to be open 24 hours a day. That is a total roller coaster of a week for this city hall and this city council. And we have Mayor Lucas coming up on the show at 7:30 this morning right here on KCMO. And we'll make sure that we talk to him about that. 913-408-7957. What does this say right now? With Town Topic saying we're done with 24 hours, frankly, I'm surprised it took them this long. Like, if there's any surprise in this story, it's that. How long this actually took them over the last 5 years in this city to finally say we're done being open 24 hours a day. But maybe it was that shooting back in late April in the parking lot adjacent to them where they said, you know what, this is it for us. But as we started off here on a Thursday morning, what does this say about Kansas City? Is it a sign of failure from City Hall? Is it a sign that the police have not been able to do their jobs appropriately? What is it? Is it a prosecutor issue? 913-408-7957. We'll get to you here coming up on KCMO Talk Radio. We will have updates from China. We'll get updates from China as well right here on 95.7 FM.
You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM KCMO.
Well, we've got a lot of news coming out of China. According to President Xi, he is saying that China and the U.S. should become partners, not rivals. Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. But what I do believe is that this city is letting down its businesses. And it's letting down its businesses on the eve of the World Cup, which is coming to Kansas City next month. And there are problems all over Kansas City. And, you know, you've got stories that I'll get to here throughout the morning that are disappointing for people in this community who are longtime residents who are paying taxes here. And they can't get help. They can't get relief. Town Topic announcing yesterday on Facebook that they are going to close their business after 8 p.m., at least temporarily, because they're sick of the crime. And they can't get their hands around the crime. And they didn't knock the cops, but they're sitting here and they're saying, you know what? We can't continue as a business with this model in the overnight hours. 913-408-7957. So my question for you right now is a very simple one. Who's to blame for this? Al's in Kansas City. He's first up. What's up, Al? Good morning.
Good morning, Pete. Thanks for taking my call. I'm a long-time listener. My opinion on this is that it's very unfortunate. You know, Town Topic, when this incident occurred, they even had 2 off-duty police officers working security for them. So they're already paying top dollar for quality security down there instead of some fly-by-night security company. And these knuckleheads still got into a gunfight with them present. I think it goes back to this mayor and some other leadership issues at the department that don't allow the police officers to do their job. And then when they do their job properly, you have the prosecutor's office refusing to file charges for whatever excuse they come up with. And I think it's demoralizing to the district officers that are on the streets every day trying to do what is right and protect this city. So I think it's just indicative of a larger problem that goes up above the district officers.
Al, you don't have to share your background, but you sound like somebody who either knows a lot of officers or interacts with a lot of officers. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's the vibe I get. And that's good because I want that perspective. And I think you're right to note, Al, that they have off-duty officers at Town Topic, and they still had gunfire, 2 weeks ago now. And if you're a bar and you want to be open until 5 a.m. for the World Cup and you have to submit a security plan, like, who's going to approve this? Who's going to deny it? And what are you going to do to guarantee yourself that there's no violence? Because I don't think you can do it. When Town Topic can't do it, how can anybody do it right now?
Exactly. I mean, I think that the criminals in this town have just been emboldened by what they see. I mean, look at the shooting at the Super Bowl parade. I mean, they can't file charges, and they're blaming the Republican governor and the stand your ground law in the state of Missouri, which if you can't protect yourself, then what are we doing here? But to open fire in a crowded Super Bowl parade, I don't see how you can apply that law there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Al, great call. Way to kick it off. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Let's go to Sarah in Kansas City, 913-408-7957. Sarah, good morning.
Good morning. I kind of think maybe they might be shutting down at 8 o'clock because a lot of these off-duty officers are now going to be working longer shifts to provide security through the city. The other thing is that these off-duty officers are not protected if they are injured on the job working off-duty. So they're better served doing overtime and being protected by the city if they're going to work extra.
You know, that's a good point, and I do wonder, to your point, if maybe this is temporary during the World Cup being here because maybe they can't get the off-duty cops like they used to while they're stretched very thin. Maybe that's a part of it. But I'd like to think that they would just say that if that was part of the plan. Hey, we can't get the off-duty cops like we need during this World Cup. They're all going to be working, and we want to make sure we've got a safe space for our employees and our customers. So I hadn't thought about that angle, Sarah, but that's an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Well, thanks for covering the topic because I do think it's a big deal.
I totally agree. It's a huge deal. And thank you, Sarah. I really think that when I was kind of checking around local news last night, they all covered it, but they just cover it as like, hey, here's the news, town topic. No longer going to be 24 hours a day. All right, let's go on to, Lenexa Man or something like that. But there are so many tentacles to this story in terms of how we got here, what it says right now about this town, and the fact that it's happening, and it happened one day after a committee on city council decided we will allow bars to stay open until 5 o'clock in the morning if you submit a security plan. Meantime, Town Topic has had a security plan forever, and you had people getting shot 2 weeks ago in the back of their restaurant.
I'm with you. We get this press release out as news, but then no journalism going, hey, wait a minute, I have a question here. Is this permanent?
Yes.
If it's permanent, boy, you guys toughed it out a long time before you gave it in, so I guess credit for that if this is permanent. I kind of feel like it is, I guess, since they didn't mention that it wouldn't be.
Well, they open up by saying we are temporarily adjusting our hours.
Ah.
So it is temporary, but how long's temporary?
Yeah. When does temporary become permanent?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you were to say to me right now, do you think they're going to go back to 24 hours? My guess would be no. I think they'll realize it's not worth it to us. The risk to be open all night and the money that we make with the security we have to have is not worth it to us. Now, would I be open until 10 or 11? Yeah, I am surprised it's 8 p.m. That's pretty early. I mean, there's a lot of people who I think would go 8, 9, 10 o'clock. I'm surprised they didn't say, hey, 11 a.m. is when we're going to, or 11 p.m. is when we're going to close.
I'm only at locations like that. There used to be Chubby's in town, different places. You go there at night after an event. So
Yes.
I don't know if there's, I mean, obviously the World Cup's coming and that kind of thing. But there on that stretch of Broadway, it's a little desolate at night. So it's not like you have an automatic crowd, it doesn't seem.
I would agree with you there. Now, they just got to wait till 2031 coming out of a Royals game. Then they'll be bumping, baby.
No kidding.
Right? I mean, that'll be
you
wild.
might see like old downtown days then where there was actually 2 or 3 within walking distance at some point.
You know, the
small ones, yeah.
The Crossroads Hotel is right there, catty corner across the street, and that is very good. They got a great Italian restaurant in there, but you're right. Manny's is around the corner as well. I mean, you've got some restaurants, but if you're there, you don't need to go to Town Topic, to your point. It's really like, an event's ending, let's go get a burger.
The nearest place is Kaufman, right?
Yeah.
So that's not like the Kaufman crowd's going out for a Town Topic at midnight.
Exactly.
But, Bartle's not too far away, et cetera.
True. Mark, what do you got for me there, big man? Are you going to be okay this morning?
I mean, it's disappointing. It's kind of like I was telling John during the commercial break. It's like the Western Auto sign is like a staple. Just driving down Broadway, seeing the Town Topic sign lit up is a staple. So hopefully it's still lit up even if they're closed.
So you want no. See, I disagree. It should not be lit up. It should be a sign to Kansas City that this town let us down.
Yeah.
They can't light it up. In fact, in solidarity, we should all turn our lights off at 8 p.m. with Town Topic. That's what we must start doing. Unbelievable.
It's nice to know it's there. That's what I was commiserating with Mark on.
Yes,
it's
it
open
is.
24 hours. It's nice to know it's there and if you need it.
It is. Sometimes it's good for breakfast for those of us on the early side. Coming up on KCMO, news in 2 minutes and the latest from China. What are we learning as the president is there for the first time since 2017 next?
from Leewood to Liberty. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Well, President Trump is right now in China. Earlier this morning, he was part of a state dinner. He spoke at that state dinner, and he landed in China, in Beijing, 24 hours ago. That's when it happened, and we were covering it right here on KCMO Talk Radio. But there's a lot happening right now with this trip overseas. And color me very skeptical on anything positive coming out of this. And that it being a lot of empty rhetoric, a lot of hollow words. And I don't say that as criticism of our leadership. I say that because I do not trust Xi. I do not trust China as far as I can throw them. I don't. Now, what it looks like is going on here is part of what President Trump was doing this morning, or, evening over there, is looking to make a deal with the Chinese rare earth mineral exports. That's one of the things that was on his hit list. The other thing, of course, was figuring out what to do about Iran. So when it comes to Iran, the White House says that the president, along with Xi, agreed that Iran should not control the Strait of Hormuz and that it should remain a free waterway, and the Iranians should not be able to exact payments via a toll for the use of those shipping lanes. Okay, that's great. What's China going to do about it? That's what I want to know. China can agree with us. Xi can, butter up Trump and say all the nice things that he wants to hear and give him a hero's welcome. But until these guys in China start putting their money where their mouth is, I don't believe them for a second. These guys are undoubtedly the worst actors on the global stage. Because maybe they're not doing the things of some of the global terrorists, but they're certainly funding them. They have funded Iran. They have funded indirectly some of these terrorist organizations around the world. That's what they've done. I mean, they have been obviously critical in the fentanyl getting into this country. And that was something that was anticipated as coming up this week. I don't know when exactly or if it's come up yet between Trump and Xi, but that's got to be top of the list as well. I mean, what you've seen happen for years now is the Chinese indirectly attack us where they're getting these chemicals from China to the Mexican drug cartels, and they're processing them into fentanyl. And, we've seen U.S. drug overdose deaths or poisonings happen at all-time highs, including right here in Kansas and Missouri, where we've seen record numbers. And it's not like it's just your corner, druggie. It's high school kids who are taking a Percocet that happens to be laced with fentanyl. I mean, we supported the Cooper Davis Memorial Foundation for the last couple of years and what they do there. He was a Mill Valley student who lost his life because he took a, piece of a Percocet. It was laced with fentanyl and it cost him his life. And his parents continue to bring awareness to the Kansas City area as to the dangers of fentanyl and some of these drugs. So China has, in a 21st century way, been at war with us for years. They want to see us, first off, whether it's through fentanyl, whether it's through, TikTok. And I know some of you will highlight that TikTok is no longer owned by China. But if you go back to when TikTok first launched in this country, TikTok in China is a very different social media platform than it is here in the United States. In China, it is used as a way to basically keep their kids sharp. Here it's used to divide us. Here it's used to promote a lot of anti-Israel propaganda and, trying to figure out how to make your kid trans and all this crazy stuff that really drives people nuts. That's what they do with the app here in the United States. Now, hopefully now that it's owned by Americans, it'll start to be a little bit better. But there was a clear plan when the Chinese Communist Party launched TikTok here in the United States and what its intended purpose was. It wasn't to bring people together. It wasn't to make America stronger. It wasn't to make Americans prouder of their country. That was not the algorithmic goal at all by the Chi-Coms when it comes to TikTok. So I am very skeptical of this whole meeting. I know there will be great headlines and it will be sold as some fantastic win. And it's going to be like, China and the U.S. are coming together and this is good for the world. These guys have given us empty rhetoric for years. This is not a knock on the president. This is not a knock on the administration. This is simply a knock on China. I don't mind the president going there. I don't think he has a lot to lose by going there. Maybe there is something to gain. But until these guys actually put their money where their mouth is, I have a hard time buying it. Now, the president did invite Xi to the White House coming up in September. And let's take a listen to what that sounded like less than 1 hour ago. Here was President Trump in Beijing this morning.
Thank you again, President Xi, for this beautiful welcome. And tonight it is my honor to extend an invitation to you and Madam Peng to visit us at the White House this September 24th. And we look forward to it. And I'd now like to raise a glass and propose a toast to the rich and enduring ties between the American and Chinese people. It's a very special relationship, and I want to thank you again. This has been an amazing period of time.
Do you feel like you have any kinship with the Chinese people? I mean, I like a good dumpling. I like General Tso's chicken. I don't even think they eat that in China, but you get the point. That's really the extent of any kinship that I feel with the Chinese people. Not that they're the bad guys and bad gals here. It's not them. It's obviously their leadership. But I feel nothing when it comes to any kind of a relationship with that country because they have been such bad actors on the world stage. It doesn't mean that American Chinese people are in that bucket. Kansas City Chinese people are in that bucket. No, that's not the point. I just don't feel any kinship at all with China. Can we not forget COVID, by the way? I mean, seriously. COVID is kind of that tipping point, it feels like, in this country to, we always talk about what it came to masks and everything else and what that did to America. But the money printing that came out of COVID is something that I think forever changed the economy and made it a permanent K-shaped economy where the asset owners continued to thrive. If you had housing, if you had stocks, if you had a portfolio, and those that couldn't were just not able to get ahead. And it's only gotten worse the last few years because of our monetary policy in the wake of COVID-19 and our reaction to that as a government. And China knows how destructive that was to our social fabric, to the way we interacted as Americans, to our economic system, and we have not still recovered from it all these years later. So I just, maybe I'm more pessimistic than some might be on this, but I am really keeping these people and this leadership at an arm's length. And I am, frankly, not going to believe anything that comes out of this meeting until I actually see it in action. I mean, why not have China step up and tell the Iranians, open up the strait or we're not buying your oil? We've got a problem here. 913-408-7957. Now I've got the text line sharing their favorite Chinese food dishes with me here, which I appreciate, guys, but, don't make me hungry. It's 6:43 on a Thursday. I don't have lunch going until probably 5 hours from now, so let's just wait and see how that plays out. Our top 6 stories in the 6 o'clock hour we'll get to coming up right here on 95.7 FM.
From Gladstone to Gardner, you're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
6:48, good morning. Happy Thursday. Thanks for being here on KCMO. Let's get right to it.
It's time for the 6 at 6 on KCMO Talk Radio. Number 1.
Top of the list is the president's continuing his trip in China. We just talked about this and some of the key things that are being discussed, including Iran and whether or not China thinks that Iran should be able to control the Strait of Hormuz. According to the White House, they claim that the Chinese agree that Iran should not be able to control the Strait of Hormuz. Now, something else that came out of this meeting from the Wall Street Journal here just in the last few minutes, President Xi has warned President Trump that any mishandling of Taiwan could lead to an extremely dangerous situation. So if you're just going to look at this meeting and be like, hey, it's all great, everyone's backslapping, everyone's good, it's a fantastic time for all involved, this is a point of tension that has loomed over this entire meeting. Xi's statement, while in line with China's longstanding position, threatened to dim the mood of the visit both countries hoped would stabilize ties. The meetings that began Thursday morning at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing were billed as a gathering of superpowers to quell economic and trade disputes. Those topics were indeed raised, reports the Wall Street Journal, including discussions of trade ties, U.S. access to the Chinese market, Beijing's investment in the U.S. industries, and its purchases of American agriculture products. I want to have this conversation. We'll do it later in the morning. But, I don't much care if Tim Cook and Apple get more access to China. I don't care. It's not great. Okay, so the mega corporations of our time can, make more money and their stock price will go up. And sure, as a stockholder of some of those companies, I guess I'm happy about that. But, the bigger thing is what our relationship is with China when it comes to our national security and our safety. That matters so much more to me than, whether or not Joe the farmer can sell his soybeans to China or Tim Cook can sell a few more iPhones over there. It's so much bigger than that right now. It's a critical point in world history. And I'm really not interested in whether or not, a few more iPhones or a few more, NVIDIA chips can be sold over there. I'm just not interested in that. So I want to kind of wait to see how this all plays out, and we'll go from there.
Number 2.
All right, next up, we got an update here in Kansas City. A criminal investigation has been dropped, according to Bishop Ward High School. So this was tied to burglary and vandalism that led to a postponement of the graduation. Well, now, KCK Police Department said that they were informed by the administration, along with the Archdiocese, that the school has chosen to handle the response to the burglary internally. As such, they do not wish to proceed with a criminal investigation. This vandalism happened last Thursday, May 7th, and involved what they said was a significant portion of the senior class. Seniors had been scheduled to walk the stage Tuesday night. However, school leadership postponed the commencement ceremonies after seniors reportedly damaged the building. And obviously, parents were not happy about this. You had people coming into town for commencement on Tuesday, and then they delayed it. So in a statement after the incident, Bishop Ward leaders said commencement ceremonies would be rescheduled when the police department's investigation was concluded. But we have not heard yet from Bishop Ward on when or if commencement ceremonies will be rescheduled. But we know that we are not going to have the KCK Police Department involved in this case any longer.
Number 3.
All right, let's go to another case on the Kansas side of the state line, and that is a Lenexa man. Luke Anthony Howard has pleaded guilty to 2 counts of intentional second-degree murder in the deaths of Valerie Howard and Joyce Austin, February 12th of 2025. This Lenexa man admitted to the gruesome double murder of his mother and aunt in an incident in a Lenexa home early last year. So the police identified the victims, Joyce Austin, 71, Valerie Howard, 61. The two were former sisters-in-law and lived together in that home. Police said they had been to the home 2 other times the same week on domestic disturbance calls. Luke Howard was taken into custody after the shooting, charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder by the Johnson County District Attorney's Office. So he has pled guilty. In this case, he is scheduled to be sentenced on August 24th, on my birthday. Great. Well, you know what? He should spend the rest of his life, as far as I'm concerned, in the can.
Number 4.
Next up, let's go to the World War I Museum and Memorial. So they are offering an all-access ticket for visitors during FIFA Fan Fest, operating this summer for the World Cup. On select dates, June 11th through July 11th, the gateway to the FIFA Fan Festival will be on the museum's south lawn, and all museum ticket holders will receive guaranteed entry to the Fan Fest, even when the 25,000-person capacity limit is reached. So a way around a packed house at the Fan Fest will be to buy a ticket to the World War I Museum and then hang out at the Fan Fest as well. So that's your basically end around. I could see this being abused, to be honest. I think that this may be something that actually doesn't work out well for anybody. But you've got these fan festivals happening as part of the World Cup this summer. And according to KC 2026, fans from 112 nations and all 50 U.S. states have registered to attend FanFest. You'll also have concerts from Chainsmokers, Flo Rida, Gabby Barrett, the All-American Rejects, and Tech Nine. The museum will be open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. throughout the FIFA World Cup period. So all-access ticket price is $30 for adults, $25 for seniors. Military and youth age 6 to 15 are also $25 and $20 for museum members. Children 6 and under are free.
Number 5.
All right, number 5. Speaking of sports, the NFL is announcing its schedule tonight, 7 o'clock, and the Thanksgiving slate was leaked last night. And the Chiefs are going to play on Thanksgiving night in Buffalo against the Bills on NBC. They will be the third game on Thanksgiving after the Lions take on the Bears, the Cowboys play the Eagles, and then it will be the Chiefs at the Bills Thanksgiving night, 7:20 kickoff on NBC. So how about that? You fired up for that in there, big man?
Oh, yeah. They stacked that Thanksgiving Day.
Thanksgiving is loaded. Thanksgiving Eve is going to be Packers and Rams on that Wednesday, and Black Friday, Broncos and Steelers. That is quite a lineup. But we're still trending to a place where, like, Sunday's now going to be like 3 NFL games. I mean, that's where all this is going. It's sad. It really is. All right, next up, last up in our
Number 6.
6 at 6 here on KCMO Talk Radio. The Royals have now lost 5 of 7. What a streaky team. My goodness, they lost their second straight to the White Sox by the same exact score, 6-5. They will wrap up the series tonight in Chicago. Chris Bubich on the mound for Kansas City as they try to avoid the sweep and get back on track, but they're just 4 games out of first place still in the American League Central. Cardinals this weekend. There's your 6 at 6. Coming up, they're starting to fear Spencer Pratt. We'll tell you what's going on next. I never thought I'd say it here in Kansas City, but I'm actually kind of jealous of what's going on in L.A. right now. I mean, just like, not that I think it's going to work out where this guy, Spencer Pratt's going to become the mayor there. He's probably still going to lose. But the idea that now you have some of the powers that be in L.A. and California shaking in their boots about this supposed, air quote, reality TV star, giving them a run for their money because they are so wildly incompetent and awful at their jobs. I love it. I just love it. And once again, there's a Trumpish element to this where the guy's a reality show star. Now, Trump at least obviously had a business background when he went down the escalator 10 years ago. Spencer Pratt does not. His claim to fame was being on The Hills 20 years ago, an MTV show, and then, of course, marrying a girl on the show and, having a reality show career from there. But this guy's house burns down in those fires in Southern California a couple of years back, and now he's running for mayor of Los Angeles. And he's got the second best odds after the incumbent, Karen Bass, who was the mayor when the fires broke out. She was in Africa when the fires broke out.
Yep.
She is completely incompetent. And Spencer Pratt's got him shaking in their boots, John, and I'm here for it, man.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because there's a CBS Mornings interview where you get more of him. So it's not a sound bite or a meme or 3 minutes. He speaks off the top of his head, and there's not a lot of So he's speaking with conviction. And in this interview, he was more professional or more concise than the interviewer.
Yes, I agree. Every time he speaks, he's got facts.
Yeah.
He's not just a blowhard.
Right.
Like, he's got facts, and it's really just about common sense, government competence. That's all he's talking about here.
Yeah.
He's not talking about Republican, Democrat issues. He's like, this city's poorly run. They cater to, druggies and drug dealers. We need more cops. We need to keep people safe. We need to get the homeless off the streets. And we've got to take care of the people in this town who are paying the taxes and being productive members of the society.
And he will say, I'm not comparing us to another state or another city. I'm talking about what's here now.
Yes. I mean, someone in Kansas City's got to copy this blueprint for next year's mayor's race that we've got in this town. I don't know who it is, but I would love to see it. So yesterday, this came out that Spencer Pratt is living in the Bel Air Hotel. This comes from TMZ. Now, before you say to yourself, oh, no, it's the beginning of the end. See, this is actually very telling that the powers that be in L.A. have, let's be honest, sent TMZ to do their dirty work against this guy, Spencer Pratt, who is surging in the mayoral race. That's the story here. Now, he's staying in the Bel Air Hotel. He's not staying in the trailer where his home used to be that burnt down in the fire. Do I think that this is one of those things that would sink his mayoral campaign hopeful bid? I don't think so. I mean, is it a little out of touch? I guess. Is he better off in a Holiday Inn? Probably. But, he's also probably, in many respects, the most hated guy in L.A. right now.
Is John Sherman going to stay down at the overnight inn? I mean, the guy has money. He's earned his own money. So,
yeah.
He might stay where he can afford to stay.
Put him in the Motel 6? Is that what we should do around here?
I don't know.
I mean, like, Trump's been able to relate to the common man in this country while still living in Mar-a-Lago and, not like trying to work his way down to being a man of the people. He just is who he is, and he's authentic, right? It's people like Hillary Clinton who put on a fake black accent when they go to Mississippi because they think that's relatable, and it's not who they are, and they get roasted for it. Like, okay, so Spencer Pratt's staying in the Bel Air Hotel. Is it the best look? No, it's not. Do I think it's like the thing that would make you say, well, I can't vote for him now? I mean, he's speaking a lot of common sense, but once I saw him check out of the Bel Air Hotel, I'm like, oh, man, I'm done with this guy.
A little class of critical thinking is, he's lying about living in the trailer. Okay, so then what? He's lying about other things?
Yeah.
No.
He's not lying about his policy positions.
Correct.
He's not lying when he preaches common sense about how poorly the city's run.
Right.
So I'm looking at this and I'm like, the real story is that TMZ went after him, which tells me the establishment is worried. And they should be worried for a couple of reasons. Number one, you actually have prominent people in Hollywood who are now holding fundraisers for Spencer Pratt. So do you see this? David Foster and his wife, Catherine McPhee, held a fundraiser last night for Spencer Pratt. So David Foster, he's a producer, composer guy. He's worked with like Celine Dion, Josh Groban, Michael
Chicago,
Bublé.
back in the day, the movie St. Elmo's Fire and the unique sound of that.
He's done a lot. He's obviously well noted. Whitney Houston's on his list as well. So he's done everything and anything. And his wife, American Idol, so they're married. They hold a fundraiser last night for Spencer Pratt. And take a listen to, this is fun. This is what they did. They took Tina Turner's Simply the Best, and they took a shot at Karen Bass, who's the incumbent there in Los Angeles.
Simply the best, better than all the rest. Sing it with me. Better than Karen Bass, and if you're running, you stuck to our hearts. Well, hang on every word you say. We've been torn apart. He's gonna fix this broken LA. You're simply the best. That's it.
And you got David Foster there banging away on the piano. So it was a nice husband-wife little song and dance there for Spencer Pratt in L.A. The fact that people in Hollywood are now coming out on behalf of this guy when it would have been, sacrilegious in L.A. to come out against an incumbent Democratic mayor tells you all you need to know about how maybe, just maybe, the common sense light bulb is going off in that town.
Do we have the answer to when it's saying that he's running as a Republican? Have you heard that one? This is the one where he says, my friends are Democrats. They called and said, good job on the debate. The only people that don't like me are the socialists and the communists.
Yes, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
You know what? Because that's what the campaign's about, common sense. And there still are common sense Democrats out there who've got to look at that city and say, enough's enough. I'm done. And take a listen to this. This is from a couple of days ago. This is Karen Bass, the mayor, who Spencer Pratt is trying to beat in Los Angeles. She's talking about how what we've got to do is fund teeth for homeless people. That's how we're going to turn this ship around in L.A.
How many people who are unhoused that you meet have no teeth at all? They don't have teeth. Why? Because meth rots your teeth. You can't succeed without teeth. So there needs to be comprehensive health care provided to people.
Oh, but you can't succeed without teeth. That's right. We're a couple of dentures away for the meth heads from turning this town around. That's all it's going to take, because you're right, Karen. The meth heads, they want to live a good, honest life. And by the way, I pray for the meth heads. I really do. I pray that they find their way, that they find faith, that they turn their lives around. But I promise you, they ain't a set of dentures away from getting off the streets. There are reasons that they find themselves in positions to live on the streets, live in tents, use drugs, and it's not because they can't get a job that they're applying to on Monster.com or Indeed, because they don't have teeth. I mean, these are the people running these major American cities. And I don't know if it happens this year for Spencer Pratt. He's probably still going to lose. But my gosh, if this doesn't make people wake up, I don't know what will. And here in Kansas City, we've got a mayor's race next year. We've got this news today that Town Topic right there on Broadway is no longer going to be 24 hours a day because they're just like, the city can't take care of us. We've got off-duty cops. We pay for security, and we can't keep our staff safe, and we can't keep our customers safe. I'm not saying we're L.A. We're not. Mayor Lucas will be here in 20 minutes. We're not L.A. But, it might be a time to say, is there a Spencer Pratt in Kansas City? Just something to think about here as we get it rolling in the 7 o'clock hour on KCMO Talk Radio. Let's go to Dennis. He's in Bonner Springs. What's up there, D?
Hey, good morning, Pete. Hey, part of the reason, John said, I think he sent you a link. Part of the reason he's staying in the hotels is because of the numerous death threats against him.
Yeah.
I mean, what else does the Democrat Party do? If they can't beat you fairly, they cheat. If they can't cheat and beat you, they're going to try to kill you. The other thing, I got to tell you this kind of personal story real quick. I was watching a video of him out there in L.A. Talking about the stuff and showing the proof. When the video ended, I'm sitting here at my laptop, and my girlfriend goes, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" I go, "My God, I didn't know it was that bad out there." It's really sad what these Democrats have done to our cities, country, wherever they can. How they've destroyed everything they touch. Anyway, have a good one, buddy.
Well, thanks for uplifting me there, Dennis. I'll try to have a good day after that call. Jeez.
There was a change-up that came in high and tight at the end.
Let me bring you down for 90 seconds, but have a great day. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it. I'll do my best. I'll try to turn this one around. 913-408-7957 is our studio line and our text line here on KCMO Talk Radio. I'm all about trying to figure out who that person is in Kansas City. And you're right to note there, Dennis, that yes, the death threats are, unfortunately for Spencer Pratt, part of the reality right now. There is no doubt that he is the most hated guy in L.A. And when you're the most hated person in a place like L.A., that tells me you're doing something right.
The fun's not done after Monday in the morning. Hey, it's Kevin Kietzman. Join me for Uncanceled at 10 o'clock right here on KCMO Talk Radio.
Well, this is weird. The NFL just put out a tweet here saying, before we get to the full schedule tonight, here are the games that have already been announced. And there's about a dozen of those games that have already been announced that the NFL just shared from the official X account. And they've got Broncos-Chiefs Monday Night Football Week 1. We know about that game. That'll be the first game for the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium, Week 1, Monday Night Football, taking on the Broncos. So you got to believe that the NFL knows that Mahomes is going to be back from the knee injury, because there's no way they're putting Justin Fields in prime time on Monday night. That would just be insane. But they did not include the report from last night that says the Chiefs are taking on the Bills on Thanksgiving night on NBC. They didn't put that on their official list. I know that was only reported from a couple of NFL insiders, but they did confirm the other two Thanksgiving games, Lions-Bears and Eagles-Cowboys. So I don't know what to make of that, but they've confirmed two of the three Thanksgiving games. The NFL did not, in a post 15 minutes ago, confirm the Chiefs-Bills on Thanksgiving night. So guess we'll just have to wait for the official announcement. 7 o'clock tonight is when the NFL will drop its full schedule.
The deduction came from we know who we play at home and who we play away already based on the conference rotations, and that the Bills game was listed as an away game.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore we made the conclusion, Thanksgiving there.
Okay, got it. But we didn't know it was going to be Thanksgiving, right? We just knew it was going to be on the road.
Thanksgiving was new, and then
Yes.
somebody said, well, wait a minute, where the Bills on the Chiefs schedule, home or away?
And it's an away game for the
away
Chiefs.
game. It was
Gotcha.
listed, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, that'll come out tonight. Mark, anything you want to see or anything either of you guys want to see coming out of this schedule release tonight?
I never really have too much of an input on that, other than maybe get a bye in the middle of the season, like week 8, 9, 10, something like that.
That's where you want the bye.
Yeah.
Would it be better this year to have the bye early in the season, since Mahomes going to be nursing that knee injury? Like having one of the first byes, get a few games under his belt, get a week off, and then go through the rest of the
What
season?
would that be, 6?
Yeah.
Week 6 maybe?
Yeah. Probably 5 is too early. 6, maybe 7.
Just as a fan, I'm intrigued by Justin Fields and what he could do. So when we see him play, I'll be curious. So,
Yeah.
I always like it in the middle of the year if possible. But,
That's my preference.
But to your point, maybe it helps.
Maybe, I'm not sure how much Justin Fields we're going to see. I'm just glad, I'm really glad that the Chiefs do not have an international game this year.
I am too.
I don't know what the NFL is doing with this. Listen, I know, and I'm all about capitalism, but there is not a greedier operation than the NFL. And you do wonder when it gets to a tipping point here with these games in Australia, Brazil, England, France, Spain, Germany, and Mexico, all on the schedule just this season.
It's interesting that the XFL, is it UFL, moved franchises around this past season. And then the CFL is going to the 100-yard field. So I'm going to be a conspiracy theory and say NFL is going towards a world division or some type of thing where you will absorb some of the CFL, some of the XFL, where they're in Birmingham, or UFL, I keep calling it. They're in Birmingham, St. Louis, different places. I could see that coming up here soon.
You think they'll have a team overseas?
Yeah, included in all that, we might have some kind of divisions, international division, domestic, et cetera, and put a team in London, I think, is maybe one place.
Relegations, like soccer, maybe?
No. Stop.
The
two of
Raiders
you.
moved down a division?
The two of you. Enough with these bad ideas for the NFL.
But I could see them expanding by absorbing and creating a more international look.
Yeah, I think you're right. I hate that for the sport. I mean, I really
Exactly.
do. I
Waters it
hate
down.
it. I hate it. I mean, we're down to the point where you're going to have like 3 or 4 Sunday NFL games at this point. The way they've got, right. Saturday, Monday, Thursday,
Well, those
Friday.
will be flag games like the All-Star game, right? They're Pro Bowl. We'll just make Sunday Flag Day.
Oh, my gosh. It's just too much. Text line is 913-408-7957. That's how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio. Well, Pete, is the NFL greedier than FIFA? All right, you got me. You got me. You got me. You know what? FIFA is a greedier and much more corrupt organization than the NFL. I will give you that on the text line. So you got me on that one.
They're trying.
Yeah, they're giving them a run for their money. There's no doubt about it. But yes, FIFA still takes the cake when it comes to greed, corruption, and incompetence. Outside of that, they're doing great. I really can't wait. Coming up, the mayor of Kansas City will be here. And we got to talk to Quentin Lucas about a lot of things. Town Topic shutting down. Shutting down at night. His decision to allow the bars to stay open until 5 o'clock if they submit a security plan. And, of course, the World Cup is right on the horizon. And maybe I'll ask him, can I get him on the Spencer Pratt bandwagon? What do you guys think about that?
I don't think he's on it, but we'll see.
Come on. I'm going to try to get him on the old Spencer Pratt bandwagon next on KCMO.
Vince Colonnese here. Join me for your lunch hour from 11 to 2 on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
The mayor of Kansas City, Quentin Lucas, is here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We are streaming on our KCMO Talk Radio app as always, as we appreciate his time on a Thursday morning. The big news that came down last night, of course, a Kansas City institution, Town Topic, announcing that its Broadway location will no longer be open 24 hours a day. They will now temporarily close at 8 p.m. Mayor Lucas, I saw that you just here a few minutes ago put up a lengthy Facebook post on this news last night. And, you know, I think you started off strong, and you note here that the blame primarily resides on the individuals and the criminals, but there was a lot of conversation here about property owners. So who's ultimately to blame here in your eyes?
Well, you know, look, I mean, it always is, of course, the criminals who, I mean, there's somebody who's at an establishment. Actually, they're in a parking lot next to an establishment at 4 a.m. They decide that the way to resolve usually really stupid arguments is to pull out some guns, get in a shootout, and then the rest of us have to flee, have to duck for cover, and have to deal with it, including the restaurant owners themselves, who have to pick up the pieces afterwards and have employees who are terrified to come into work. I mean, this is something that we have seen far too often. We saw this at Town Topic a few weeks ago. Obviously, we saw it last summer. You and I and the community had a lot of chats on it. And so step one starts with the criminals who are too mature to, I think, even possess firearms. I won't get into a big debate about that, who obviously, when you add drugs and alcohol to it, have judgment that is even more clouded. And frankly, we are all stuck in a city dealing with all that. That's step one. Step two, though, and I appreciate Town Topic for raising it, is that they largely named a nearby property owner, a parking lot, that frankly is a big issue for them. And they've complained about it for years. I've known others who have complained about the same issue and frankly the same lot for years. And you have an out-of-town property owner who again and again doesn't address the issue long term. And so I think that's where we start with the blame, and then we go from there. Sorry, I got a 2-year-old who wants to say hi.
Well, you know what? You tell him we all said hello here at KCMO. So what do you do about that though? Because you got these lots, and you know the city can't control who owns them. So what's the answer?
You know, I think there are a few answers. The first of which, and look, I've proposed some of these answers. One is actually, you know, to make sure that we have, first you just call them out. I'll be quite honest. You tell people, take care of your stuff. That's all we're asking for. I think, you know, and Town Topic put their statement on, and I think it speaks for itself, but they were saying, we called about these people time and again. So what I would ask for anybody who controls a lot where these things pop off all the time, has a vacant or abandoned house in the core of our city, of which there are tons that are being used for drug houses or where people are squatting in and out. Take care of your own stuff, like all of us who are responsible owners do every day at our houses, in our neighborhoods. We care about the people around us. That's step one, really. I'm looking for personal responsibility from people. To the criminal element, right? Don't actually get in a shootout in our popular public places or really anywhere. And if you do, know that you will be prosecuted. Say what you will about the recent chief shooting and all of that. Leave that aside. And I actually think our prosecutor's hands were tied. But she will bring cases where she has a witness who can say somebody shot at somebody else. And these people are actually getting real sentences. That is something that I think has been exceptional from Melissa Johnson. I know she will continue to do so. So I think we need to hold them responsible. And then from the city side, look, I would love to regulate the heck away from this concern at all. And I know there are people going to disagree with me. When we talked about it in August and September, they said, oh, my God, Q is blaming the parking lots. Well, it seems like it's still a pretty damn big problem, frankly, right? That this restaurant that has been there for generations is saying we can't deal with this because we have all these people next door that are acting a total fool, even though the restaurant hired their own off-duty security, take care and handle their own business, but are dealing with the negative externalities of their neighbors. So I will continue to look at ways that we can go after vacant and absent, typically out-of-town landowners to make sure that they're actually handling some level of accountability. And I'll give one other quick example. In my own neighborhood the other day, a lady stopped me me while I was out playing with my kids, and she said there's a homeless encampment that's built up somewhere in the neighborhood. We called the police. They said it's on private property, but the private property owner won't answer calls, doesn't respond to emails, won't answer letters. So, I mean, look, you guys can say Quint Lucas is the worst person ever. Maybe people on the left will say KCPD is the worst ever. But you see, kind of there's a central character in this, the property owner, that we need to actually have do something. That's who I'm going to continue to try to address to make sure that they're just as accountable for these things as we are for our neighbors who don't cut their weeds.
So, but if somebody is, if there are illegal things happening on private property, you don't just let that slide. So why is that an excuse for a homeless encampment in your neighborhood?
No, so you're telling me KCPD should start storming on all private property without actually the petition, without the permission of the property owner?
Well, I mean, if you guys have if there's a meth house in Kansas City, what do you just drive by?
It depends on if you can see it. I mean,
if you see people breaking the law in broad daylight on private property, why no one's doing anything about it?
I hate to get into the Fourth Amendment debate, but the honest thing is the police actually are curtailed somewhat in what they can do. If there are 10 young people standing around, we had this chat last August. If there are 10 people standing on a private parking lot in the summer months, particularly without a sign, as half these places do not have, right, without proper lighting and all of that, I mean, you know how policing in America goes now. Should they go in, break it all up, all that sort of stuff, and then somebody says later, actually, I was lawfully there, I was walking to my car, all those steps? No, what we're supposed to do is actually have property owners who take care of their stuff. So yes, if there is an exigent circumstance where the police see some likely criminality, typically one that is to put people more in danger. So you're right, if they see an ongoing shootout on private property, I would argue likely that they are able to go in and intervene. If you see 10 people standing around, I don't know, with an illegal card game that we can't even tell is illegal, I'm not sure what the advice is, really. I mean, I would say, actually, I do know, I would say probably be more cautious with that sort of thing. So, we can obviously go through the legal steps, but you're cutting out actually somebody who has great responsibility here, which is the private property owner themselves. The simple cure, rather than Quint Lucas and Pete Mundo and a jury of Jackson Countyans or Platte Countyans or anyone deciding if the officer had the right to be there, is for a property owner to actually say, hey, this is a problem. I heard from my neighbors. I actually care about what's going on in my community. I'm going to call in the trespass because it's actually my property, and I'm going to make sure it gets taken care of. Indeed, they can call the police. The police will come out and assist them with that sort of thing. That's the sort of activity we want from private property owners, rather than saying all the rest of us in the third-party world, the neighbors, the cops who need to figure out if they're lawfully there or present on the property or not, the prosecutor who doesn't even know if a case will come out of it because nobody's talking and there are no cameras, right? We're looking at everybody else when I think there are some folks who are closer to solving the problem.
Mayor Lucas is here on KCMO. So the other part of this that I find interesting is Tuesday, I believe, in the committee hearing, you guys said, hey, these bars in Kansas City during the World Cups can stay open until 5 o'clock in the morning if they present a reasonable security plan to the city of Kansas City. How is that going to work with these games and the World Cup really starting in 4 weeks? How are you going to expedite this process?
Yeah, I hate to have points that are proven within just sheer days, but I think you see why we have some concern, those of us who care about public safety in this community, in late operations. And I'll note, of course, this is a restaurant, not even a bar, but where you have large congregations of people with absolutely no security plan, like the private lot. And again, the criminals are the problem. I know everybody's going to cut this and say, oh, he's blaming inanimate objects again. But nonetheless, right, we see problems that entail. This is why we are asking for a security plan. I visited with business owners over the last weekend and early this week who talked to me about, and I'm frankly proud of them, including business owners you've talked to, who talked about the fact that they have hired private security already, both private security and off-duty law enforcement, who have cameras up the wazoo, really, to make sure that they can see and capture what's going on, and they share it, importantly, with the police and prosecutors when there is an issue, right? We need to see those sorts of things in terms of how we'll handle the volume, PM. My understanding is, particularly because we curtailed it only to entertainment districts in the city, we don't expect to have that many people that actually will look to avail themselves of this, right? There are indeed only so many bars that can. We do have a staff ready to review those plans and to work with those people. And I think public safety is going to be paramount. What we're not going to do is have these off hours, nightclub parties and edges of the city where, we often end up with these types of shootouts because nobody has any plan. Nobody has any plan for security to call police, has any lighting or anything under the sun.
I agreed with your premise last week where you said, hey, this doesn't really make a lot of sense for Kansas City. But, my concern the last couple of days is it feels like there was a bit of a capitulation from City Hall on this, where Town Topic is proving you can have all the security and you're still potentially risking shootouts. So as much as, your point last week was proven right, after what's come out this week, do you feel like, hey, maybe I backtracked more than I should have on this deal?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm a human, and I tend to think that don't even tend to think. I believe everything I said last week was right. That and there are studies that show it. There are lots of steps along the way that show that later operating hours that get more people out on the streets where there is really just no control going on, then you run into more concerns. And I'll be quite honest for those who are like, what difference does 4 a.m. make from 4 p.m.? My friends, people are out at 4 p.m. There's lots of other activity. It is easier to conduct criminality when there aren't actually other people walking around you, when there isn't the same level of activity. There are exceptions. We had a parade shooting. We have others. But yes, generally that is why you see the commission of lots of crimes in the late night hours differently than you do, let's say, in the middle of like a productive, active area that doesn't have a bunch of vacant lots or burnt out buildings or homes and all of that. So no, I think that there's a balance. I'm content in some ways with this balance because my probably greatest concern was, the bars and lounges and others that exist on the edges of the city with fewer rules, with less oversight. I tend to think if there's a shootout, and this is where I'll actually appreciate my friends in the private bar, lawyers. If there's a shootout at the Power and Light District, somebody's going to sue the Power and Light District. And I think, they care about our safety, but I also think that the owners of that district, Cordish companies, care about a multi-million-dollar wrongful death lawsuit that claims that they were negligent in providing security. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a story you'll see in lots of our entertainment downtown districts that, frankly, are owned by deeper pockets who will actually recognize that if they don't do something, then they'll run into liability thereafter. So that gives me some comfort, not a lot, but some. But no, I would prefer everybody close at the reasonable time that we always do. Mm-hmm. And I do wonder if there was too much backtrack.
Yeah, okay. Mayor Lucas here on KCMO. So I think the only fair critique I heard from some of the bar owners last week was that this was announced last week, a month before the World Cup. Why not? We knew that Missouri had this option out there for a while. What took you till May to realize, hey, this may not be in Kansas City's best interests?
Look, we study public safety every day, every week, and I'll let people know this. Frankly, if this thing doesn't work out and we have a big shooting on June 10th at the beginning of the district, expect us to come back and look to abolish it entirely. I know it stinks and all of that, but my primary task is the public safety of our community. And, and that's what we'll do. So, look, I would love to be a perfect administrator in every way, give the most ample notice and all of that. But if we're going to start having shootouts the first week of a big global tournament, then I will probably throw out the entire thing. And I think I would have the support of the public and the city council because, yes, you heard from a lot of business owners. I know you did. And I saw people on your Twitter and all that sort of stuff. But I sure as heck heard from a lot of people. And I'll just be quite honest with you. I don't know if there was, and I hate to ever stereotype, I don't think I bumped into a single woman over the age of 50 in Kansas City who wasn't working in the bar industry who told me, Lucas, I have a problem with this proposal. Right? And a whole bunch of other men, too, said, you know what, it just doesn't make sense we're open that late. I don't frankly love the position the state put us in. I would have preferred the Kansas system where we all had to have an opt-in system, some discussion of it, because you're looking at just the core politics of it all. And I'm fine, but we're a little bit behind the eight ball because we have to take something that people see as a right, which is always harder than enlarging charging one. But no, we'll do whatever public safety necessitates. And I'm not just going to be a mayor who sits back and says, oh, yeah, there's a shooting there. We're going to send the fire department to wash the blood off the streets, which I've seen and people who've been around see actually happens at these, open everything up and act like it's just back to normal.
All right, two things here real quick before we let you go. I see that Toronto is handing out free World Cup-themed condoms. Will Kansas City be doing that?
No.
Okay.
No. Why even? I mean, my goodness. Some people. There's the occasional health department, and I know you were best friends with the former health director here, who like to just get involved in things they don't need to be. And no, these players know how to handle their own business, and if they don't, they'll probably pay for it on the back end.
Well, this is for the fans, so they can score safely.
No,
okay.
It's fine. There are condoms available in our health department at 25th and Troost if you really can't afford one and are engaged in any type of behavior on our streets.
25th and Troost. Good to know. Okay. Okay. I just got to make note, Okay. All right. Well, hey, you know what? I'd rather a little bumping and grinding over shootouts in the streets. So I don't know. Be careful what you wish for. But I agree with you. Okay. All right. Last thing. When are you going out to L.A. and campaigning for our boy Spencer Pratt?
First of all, I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind, too. I hope people choose love, not war, on the streets of Kansas City this year. In terms of Los Angeles, Karen Bass is my homegirl. She is a wonderful leader and mayor. Spencer Pratt is a wonderful kind of conservative wonderkind right now, but Karen Bass is going to win. We should bet on it in some way. Maybe we'll get some street tacos or something. But look, it's easy to run as the guy who's saying, government stinks for this, that, and the other reason. It's much harder to govern, particularly a major American city of 4 million plus people. And I think Karen Bass is going to come through and show that long term.
Okay. All right. So all in on Karen Bass, but you're not going out to L.A. or anything like that.
I don't know if I will have the time to do so.
Okay.
I'd love to. I'd love to go knock doors in Los Angeles. I know people would love their Kansas City mayor there, just like people did in New Hampshire and Michigan in past engagements. But we will see. In the meantime, I'm just going to be reading Missouri Supreme Court opinions about redistricting and see how Republicans try to take all the advantage in the redistricting wars, to be answered, no doubt, by Democrats in the next election cycle.
Yeah. Start in New Hampshire and Massachusetts and Maine and Vermont and we'll save it for next week. We'll save that one for next week. We got to a lot. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the time.
We'll talk soon. Have a great weekend.
All right.
Everybody.
Have a good weekend. That is Quentin Lucas on KCMO Talk Radio. Okay, there was a lot to unwrap there. 913-408-7957. All coming up. We'll get to you on KCMO Talk Radio. Tracy Mann will be here next hour. He's a 1st Congressional District in Kansas. We'll talk about the Farm Bill and more with him at 8:30. Okay, as you are getting your morning started and you're thinking about what projects you've got going on this summer, and I know you're thinking about one because we all do. The question is, when are you actually going to pick up the phone and do something about it, right? Well, the phone call should happen today, and it should start and end with CMP Construction here in Kansas City. They are a family-owned Kansas City company run by great longtime KCMO listeners, Chris and Teresa. And just know that you're not dealing with a big corporate remodeler here, okay? I mean, you're going to get a great family-owned business that treats your home the way that they would treat their own. CMP Construction will do it all: kitchens, bathrooms, basements, full remodels. They focus on quality craftsmanship, clear communication, and none of the pressure, none of the runarounds, none of the, hey, when is the guy showing up today? Just honest guidance and realistic expectations. You can get a free quote in just a few days with CMP Construction, and then they'll actually do something that a lot of contractors won't. They'll work with your schedule. I know, what a novel concept, right? But that family first direct approach is why people across Kansas City keep coming back. So if you've got that project in your house, look at their great work online at cmpremodel.com. That's cmpremodel.com. You can see the big green box in the corner for the free estimate. And you can give them a call as well, 913-408-7578. Start that conversation today with CMP Construction.
from the nation's heartland. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Sorry there, Mark. I jumped the gun. I'm surprised the mayor wasn't more open to what Toronto is doing. I figured that might be actually a good way to promote love, not hate, peace, not war on the streets of Kansas City. Toronto,
boom, boom, boom.
Yes. Toronto is handing out whatever you want to call them. Jimmy hats, love gloves. I don't know. Is there another slogan I'm not aware of that may work?
Yeah, I forgot them all.
Yeah, those two came to mind for me. But anyway, Mark likes it. Mark's when I get mildly sophomoric, Mark just loses it on the other side of the glass.
I love it.
What do you like more, the love glove or the Jimmy hat?
Jimmy hat's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fine. Well, anyway, they're giving those out in Toronto during the World Cup for fans, not like the Olympics where they give it to the actual athletes. They're giving it to fans in Toronto, and they may be on to something there. I mean, if we're going to have bars open until 5 o'clock in the morning, I don't like the policy. I thought the mayor was right to try to curtail all this last week, and now he's, I think, in some ways capitulated, and he kind of admitted as much that he's capitulated to all this. So, you know what? You start handing these things out on the way out of the bar, and people might, put away their heat, and they might not use that firearm. And, I'm not trying to promote any of this stuff, but in some ways it feels like the lesser of two evils. I'll tell you that right now. And he also noted that if there is any kind of shootout, any kind of violence early on in the World Cup where they got the bars open until 5 o'clock in the morning, he will stop that immediately. And he should. It just stinks that we're going to have to wait for someone to get hurt to curtail bad policy. It's like he's in part, and I give him credit for admitting it, but he's kind of admitting this is bad policy, but we're going to kind of do it because the bar owners want it. I'm struggling with it. I really am. News coming up in a minute on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We are streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app on a Thursday morning on 95.7 FM. So we were just having the conversation with the mayor of Kansas City about, how to stay out of trouble during the World Cup, the bars being open until 5 o'clock in the morning. The reality is this, and I saw a study on this yesterday. Alcohol consumption continues to fall. People are drinking less than ever before. Now, it's happening with adults, but it's really happening with teenagers. Now, I know they legally, obviously, cannot drink. However, we all know the way of the world, and we all know that some consumption of alcohol by teenagers is something that's been happening, since the beginning of time. That being the case, this study was done from Family Studies, and it went viral yesterday. Got, looking at it here, 7 million views. So the collapse in drinking amongst high schoolers has gone from 92% in 1975 of the percentage of 12th graders, that's seniors, who have ever consumed alcohol. So back in 1975, 92, now also the drinking age was 18, but still, the percentage of 12th graders who have ever consumed alcohol was at 92% in 1975. By the mid-90s, it had fallen to about 80%. By the mid-2000s, it was down to about 70%. It is now down to 47%. And if you think, well, they're replacing this with marijuana or something like that as that gets legalized in more places, that's actually not true either. The marijuana use has also dropped over the last 50 years amongst 12th graders, from 56% in 1975 to 34% this year. So those are, on the surface, you look at that and you say, well, that's great, right? I mean, that sounds good. Who doesn't want fewer kids consuming alcohol? Because, for too many teenagers, they don't really know how to consume it in a way that's responsible anyway. So right away, I saw people celebrating this yesterday. And they're like, oh, okay. I mean, wow, this is great. And I'm not saying it's not. It's not like, listen, I'm raising 3 little kids. It's not like I want them consuming alcohol at an age when it's technically illegal. It's not something that we want to, promote. But I don't think that we just look at this and say, wow, parents are doing a great job and kids are drinking less. That's not the takeaway either. What you've got here in part, as I look at this study, is people continuing to just replace one vice with another. They are sitting on their smartphones all day, every day. They are not having real human interactions. They're sending Snapchats instead of actually sitting on a couch, hanging out, maybe consuming alcohol, hopefully just casually, but they're not doing the things that for generations kids have done to learn how to socialize and be adults. Like I don't see this precipitous decline in alcohol consumption and come to the conclusion that, wow, kids are really responsible now and parents are doing a great job.
I'm with you there. There is a replacement to your point, I think.
Yes.
And so we would celebrate if we could point to some proactive program that we've all adhered to. There is no such thing. This is just circumstance, right? Circumstantial evidence.
I think the phones are really killing teenage partying is a big part of it.
Right.
Now, there's no doubt there's been a surge, I think, in, youth adult fitness. The Make America Healthy Again movement is, I think, a big part of this as well. And, you see more young people, Gen Zers, leaning into their faith. Like, all those things are great and would keep them further away from alcohol. But you don't see a decline like this at this kind of a rate in the last 10 to 15 years. And it really started dropping around 2010 to 2015 when 12th graders really dropped the percentage of those who have ever consumed alcohol. Well, what became big from 2010 to 2015? I mean, the stupid phone that I'm holding in my hand right now. And listen, we're all guilty of it. Some of you are listening to the show on the phone right now. We've all got them. I get it, and we all probably use them more frequently than we should. Like, I'm guilty of it. My job requires me to be on this thing. But for the kids in particular, I mean, there's nothing healthy that's coming out of this as it relates to our kids. Nothing whatsoever. And, I'm seeing some people celebrate this study, and it's like, man, I'm not looking at it that way. because there's a way to avoid binge drinking. There's a way to avoid promiscuity amongst young people without then saying, well, I'm going to put a screen in front of them for 24 hours a day. Like you see it with little kids. Yeah, I saw it the other day. It was like, I guess it was yesterday. Boy, this week's been a weird week. I saw it yesterday. I bring my middle one to her swim class, and, I sit there and I watch her, and, if I get a text from somebody at work or whatever, I'll answer that. But I try to watch her. And then I also look around the room. And I understand that we don't have like magazines anymore and people don't bring books, but everyone's on their phone. And you see siblings too. Like you've got young siblings and they're, doing their own thing on a phone on YouTube. Like, and it just, not that I want to be the guy that's like, slapping backs with random people at, 5-year-old swim class. It's not really what I want to be doing. But I did look around yesterday and say, this is kind of sad that everyone's just kind of got their face buried in these devices. It's silent as could be. The kids in the swim classes are having a great time. They're doing their thing. But it also kind of made me sad when I would kind of look at the kids and some of them would try to like wave to their parents and the parents wouldn't be paying attention. And we've all done it. We've all been there. I've done it. I've been there. But watching it happen in real time is something that, I started to notice more and more lately. And it's just, it's sad to see. And there are great benefits to obviously these phones and the information that they provide us at our fingertips. But it also, I think, can be a dangerous and treacherous road to go down when you have young people who are not learning how to socialize and not learning how to be adults. And there is something about socialization in awkward settings at 17, 18, 19 years old that will benefit you when you get to be an adult. 913-408-7957. If you have a theory as to why we are seeing such a massive decline in teenage drinking, which on its surface looks like it's great news, but I'm not necessarily convinced that it is. If there's something I haven't mentioned, hit us up on the text line as well. That's 913-408-7957. Let's see what we got here on the text line. Oh, this is good. Pete, my daughter's dance class is in the lower level of an older building, and the service is terrible. As a result, parents have to actually converse with each other because of this, which turns into great conversation. See, that's really interesting. You've got a dance class where there's no service, so as a result, the parents are sitting there just twiddling their thumbs, and they're like, I guess I'll talk to the person next to me and strike up a conversation. That's great. Pete, this is from a texter. Born in 87. All right, so you're a year ahead of me. Born in 87, and I remember the neighborhood being way more outside activity driven. Drive around neighborhoods in the summertime, and we see far fewer kids outside playing. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think where we live, our neighborhood does a great job with this. I mean, there are kids all day out and about, running around. And I think that's because of what parents try to do to get the kids outside.
I agree with you.
So we're doing we're trying to do our part.
There are pockets around the metro where you can still find good old neighborhood activity.
Yes. And I think that our neighborhood, we're grateful and thankful that our neighborhood does that and that parents are like-minded on that front. But I get it. It's not like it used to be.
Stranger danger is a real thing. You were mentioning at the pool. It's like if I were a kid or a sibling, I'd be looking forward to running up and down in the building and getting away. But you've got, hey, don't go too far out of my sight. I don't know some of these people around here. So you've got that whole stranger danger thing in the neighborhoods and even just out in public.
Yes, absolutely. You're right about that. Hey, Pete, as the mother of teenage boys, I've come to realize that it seems to be sweeping through high schools the epidemic of vapes, whether it was nicotine vapes, marijuana vapes. The principal said it's absolutely nuts. They are so accessible, almost everyone has one in my kids' high school. Well, okay, so they're choosing vapes, but they're still not socializing, right? I don't think that necessarily changes the broader conversation as to how kids are just not going out and about, not living their lives. And I think there's something about getting in, not that we want our kids to get into trouble, but there's something about getting into a little bit of trouble and putting yourself in the occasional precarious situation that is part of your growth as a young person. And if your life is sitting in a bedroom on a phone, you just don't know how to interact when you hit a little bit of controversy in your life.
Yeah, the vape thing plays into your alternative theory. It's not that they're not drinking and that we've curtailed that. It's simply been replaced with something else.
That's exactly what's happened. Exactly. 913-408-7957. Hey, Pete, don't knock the video game industry. They're more social because people can play against people all over the world. No. Please. Playing with some creep on a video game that you've never met before, I don't want to hear about that. When I was a teenager, you could play video games against people from other parts of the world. I mean, that started like probably 22, 20 years ago, give or take. I mean, that's been a thing for 20 years. That's not some new thing that just started. Now, you can, I guess, talk to these people, but that's not socializing. I'm sorry. Sitting with a headset on, playing a video game is not real socialization where you're looking somebody in the eye and you're trying to have a real conversation. On the text line, Pete, kids play sports 24/7, no time to booze. I'm not buying that either. No way. Trey, go ahead. You're on KCMO.
I think it's great. We know the hazards of people not socializing. We don't know the full cost yet. We're still in the light end of the pool. We do know the destructive power of drugs and alcohol. And we spent decades, all kinds of programs and all kinds of attempts to deal with it. Well, maybe we replaced it with another problem, but we know the problem we're getting away from. And about being on the phones, you mentioned they're leaning into their faith. Where did they learn, or even like there's so many young kids converting to Eastern Orthodoxy? Where did they learn about Eastern Orthodoxy? From the internet.
What evidence is there of that?
Oh, it's you could plug it into Google. It's been across headlines this past year.
So, I mean, but does it have to be one over the other? I mean, does it have to be either kids are on their phones all day or they're, getting boozed up at a high school party and drinking and driving? Because I don't think it's that black and white.
No, it may be a self-solving problem. The phones might wind up being a self-solving problem if it inspires you to go to church and church gets you off your phone. If we had to go backwards to go forwards.
So you're good with this. You think that this is a great development?
It's yes, all around. I will take the risks of the phones over what we know drugs and alcohol does.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It doesn't mean everyone's binge drinking and then getting behind a wheel. I mean, there's enough of the casual side of this that
There's enough of it for it to have, like, Moms Against Drunk Driving.
What's that?
There's enough of it to have, like, Moms Against Drunk Driving.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those are great organizations.
I mean, I'm also thinking, I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years, and it was every weekend that grown adults had to be told not to go drink and drive, and they went and did it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of that something had to get through human beings' thick skulls, and if it was being zonked out on TikTok, okay, take the W, and what's going to get you off of being zonked out on TikTok? Maybe something you learn about on TikTok.
Man, Trey, I appreciate the viewpoint, man, but I'm not there, brother. I'm not. I see a lot of potential concerns. Thanks for the call. I see a lot of potential concerns that come out of this beyond the just surface area view of, well, less people drinking is a good thing. 913-408-7957. Keep it rolling with you. We got Tracy Mann, Kansas Congressman, bottom of the hour on the Farm Bill. And then we'll get to Ask Mundo Anything at 8:45 on KCMO. All right. Well, as you are getting out the door this morning, we've got some weather coming this weekend. Chance of more heavy rain, some hail potentially in the forecast as well. Now's the time to get that structural foundation consultation from my friends over at KC Pier right here in Kansas City. And the best part of KC Pier is that when you call them, you're not going to get a call center. You're not going to get some guy in some other country who can barely speak English. You're not going to get some AI robot, all right? You're going to get someone here in town who knows the city, knows the soil, and knows the concerns of Kansas City homeowners. KC Pier is locally owned, and they have a lifetime transferable warranty. Plus, they do 1 and 2 year monitoring visits to make sure your foundation is performing the way it should. So if you're seeing those cracks in the walls, maybe, something feels off in that basement, you're looking outside and you've had a little bit of water trickle in, don't wait. protect that home equity, and get KC Pier out for a structural consultation. They're Kansas City owned. They are home with a lifetime warranty. And, their guy Brian, who came to my house a couple of weeks ago, he's seen 23,000 foundations. And he's like not even 20 years into the business. It's just wild. So they're Kansas City guys who know this town, know the lay of the land, and know the soil makeup as well. Get them out. Go to kcpier.com. That's kcpier.com.
From Overland Park to Parkville, you're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
We have a major problem that is bubbling below the surface, and it's going to impact higher education across this country for decades to come. This story here I saw yesterday, business schools are slashing MBA tuition by as much as 50% due to falling demand. The Master's in Business Administration. So there is just not a demand for it like there used to be. The MBA used to be your way to get the big banking job, right? And now it's like, wait, you mean I can learn most of this stuff in maybe a few days with AI, ChatGPT? What's happening now, as I see it, the market is really, I think, separating away and going away from what I think you can dub generic credential theater. The people who are like, I've got an MBA. I've got a PhD. I've got, whatever other degree. I've got a master's in fill in the blank. I just think we're at the point now where, like,
nobody cares.
It's just irrelevant. Now, does the top MBA at, Penn still have value? Probably. It buys access. You have elite peers, their parents are big-time business people, big-time politicians. There's definitely access to, an elite level of individual that you will get in some of these top colleges and these top programs. That's really where the value is. It's got nothing to do with the classroom. It's got to do with who you then get connected to if you go to one of these elite universities or get one of these elite degrees. So that's where you still have some value in these programs. But everything below that upper echelon has been completely exposed the last couple of years. Because think about it. The MBA value was like, hey, you're going to get business knowledge here, and that's scarce. It's not scarce anymore. I mean, how many people do you follow? I follow people on social media where it's just like you'll get a ton of finance, strategy, marketing, accounting, management, case studies, memo writing, market analysis. You'll get a ton of stuff anywhere on social media, X, Instagram, you name it. You can find it. And then you can teach yourself in a way that's faster and far cheaper than anything you're going to get from an MBA program. So this is really something that's happening below the surface that I don't think we talk enough about. And it is going to result in a lot of these universities having to cut these programs, and it will change the way of higher education for decades and generations to come. And I'm good with that. I'm good with that because in too many cases, these institutions have been used by the government to, frankly, change the minds and try to change the hearts of the people they're supposed to, quote, teach. And we're not seeing that happen. And we haven't seen that happen for the better part of 50 years. Tracy Mann, Kansas 1st District Congressman, is going to be here. Talk about the Farm Bill getting through the House and what it means for Kansas and Missouri next.
If it's happening in KCMO, it's on KCMO. From Smithville to Shawnee Mission, you're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
So yesterday, the House of Representatives passed a bill to allow permanent year-round E15 sales, and this was 2 weeks after E15 was pulled from the Farm Bill. It passed 218 to 203, and here's what's interesting. It was 95 Democrats joining 122 Republicans to pass the bill, while 90 Republicans and 113 Democrats opposed it. Tracy Mann is here on 95.7 FM, 1st Congressional District Congressman. So, Congressman, this is strange. You saw Republicans and Democrats very much divided on E15. What is it, and why was it so controversial?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Pete. So I represent the 1st District of Kansas, one of the biggest ag districts in the country. Goes west from Colorado all the way to Lawrence. This was one that is a little more geographic than partisan, I would say. States that are producing ethanol or have a lot of corn and soybeans grown would tend to be more for it than others. Certainly, Kansas delegation and Missouri delegation by and large was for year-round E15. But what this does is, today you can go to the pump. But in the summertime, not all states allow for the summer sales of E15. It all depends on what the governor in that state chooses to do. So my big thing is let's let the consumer choose. Let's let the market work, and let's provide some more certainty to the fuels markets here moving forward.
What was the case against E15?
I think it varies. I think there's some Democrats, candidly, that are all for electric vehicles and don't like anything that's liquid fuel. So I think there's some of that, which I think is craziness. We produce fuel in our country. We need to keep promoting that. So I think that was a big part of it. The vast majority of refiners in the country were for this bill. There were a handful, though, that were not. So I think that might have been part of it as well.
And then what about the Republicans who, there were 90 of them against this as well?
Yeah, I think that has to do with maybe some of the refiners, some specific refiners around the country that for whatever reason did not support the legislation. I think that might have been why some of those members were not for it. By and large, it's the National Consumer and Fuel Retailer Choice Act. Let's give consumers let's let the free market work. Let's give them choice and the freedom to pick whatever fuel they want, whether that's in the summertime, wintertime, or any time for that matter.
Okay, so I saw all of the Kansas delegation voted for this. So yourself, Ron Estes, Derek Schmidt, and Sharice Davids. So how big of a deal is this, and what are the benefits to Kansas farmers specifically to have this E15 year round in the gasoline?
Yeah, well, we have about a dozen ethanol plants in Kansas. And whenever you have an ethanol plant, that's providing demand for corn, soybeans, sorghum. And so that is going to increase demand for our ag commodities at a time when our farmers are really, really struggling right now. So that's important and meaningful. And when you go to the pump today, Kansas City or anywhere all over the state, it's pretty clear that those fuels that are blended with ethanol are lower price at the pump. And so it's good for the consumer, good for ethanol producers, and certainly good for our farmers as well.
What about those who say that the E15 is maybe not as good on gasoline mileage and also can be harmful to the vehicle? Is there any accuracy to that? Because I have seen that critique out there the last 24 hours.
Yeah, I think that was true, 20 years ago. I think that engines have changed greatly, really since ethanol first was introduced into the market. But I think that's where consumer choice matters. And if someone is concerned about that for their particular vehicle, small engine, whatever that is, then they can choose otherwise. But those that want to, fill their vehicle with a blend of E15 should be able to do that if that's what they so choose to do.
And will that be just up to the Quick Trips of the world to basically say, we are going to allow E15 gasoline, which to your point might be 15, 20 cents cheaper at the pump than non-E15 gasoline? Will that just be up to the Quick Trips of the world to make that call for themselves locally?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's going to be up to individual retailers, the fueling stations, to make that choice. Today, a lot of them hold back in investing in the infrastructure for E15 because in most states, they don't know if they can sell it in the summertime, right? And so it's hard to invest with that uncertainty. So if we can remove that uncertainty, and then at that point, let's let the market dictate and let's let retailers choose what they want to sell at the pumps to benefit the consumer.
So does this bill now go over to the Senate side, since it was not part of the Farm Bill a couple of weeks ago that passed? Does it now go as a standalone bill to the Senate?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it was always a standalone bill. So the Farm Bill, this was not included in it because it's actually, cutting an EPA regulation. It's always a good thing, in my view, to cut EPA regulations, by the way. But it was always a standalone bill. It was connected via a rule before, but now it's no longer connected. So separately, the Farm Bill is transmitted to the Senate, and then this bill separately on its own gets transmitted to the Senate as well.
Are you confident it'll pass there?
I'm optimistic. Yeah, it's hard to know what's going to happen over on the Senate side. There are a lot of strong supporters for, consumer and fuel retail choice, supporters of E15. People are feeling at the pump all over the country, so I think the time is right. So I'm optimistic it'll pass in the Senate. I'm hopeful, but we will see what happens.
All right, Tracy Mann, 1st Congressional District, Kansas side of the state line on KCMO Talk Radio. So what about on the ranching front? There was some conversation this week, Congressman, from the president about ending tariffs on South American beef coming to the United States, and then it seemed like at the 11th hour that got nixed earlier this week. It's a fine line because we know beef prices are astronomically high right now. But we want to help people at the grocery store while also not hurt the ranchers. So what do you think the answer is here to all this?
Well, I'm a free market guy, Pete. So I think the answer is let's let the market sort it out. The cattle cycle is usually a 7 or 10 year cycle, and right now we have a 75-year low of the cow herd size, which means you're going to restrict supply, and so that's going to put upward pressure on prices. Also, the cattle industry is producing a product, an American-grown beef, that tastes better and is wanted by the consumer today more than ever. That's a good thing. Credit them for creating such a great product. But I'm for a free market. I don't think the government should be intervening, and let's let the market sort this out.
So you mean that globally too? So you would potentially just allow the South American beef in and let it play out from there.
Well, we got to make sure. I think the variable you can't forget, we can't leave out this conversation, is the health of our food supply. A challenge we have specifically with beef and other products at times is the lack of testing of the beef, the lack of making sure that it's high quality, has gone through all the proper testings. That sometimes some markets that beef has come in from other countries has not been tested, it's not proven as safe as ours.
Sorry, that was something on our satellite. Just ignore that. I don't know where that came from. Are you there, Tracy?
Yeah.
My apologies on that. Last thing I want to ask you then, on that front, there was a conversation last week. The Ag Secretary noted that 85% of America's beef is controlled by the big four meatpacking companies on the processing end of the industry. How much of a concern is that, and how much do you think that's actually driving the high cost of beef in this country?
Well, I certainly think, when we have foreign ownership of our in agriculture, that's a concern. At least that's a concern to me. That said, you look at the market right now, and the packers are actually losing a lot of money. There are times in this cattle cycle where they're making a lot of money. They are losing hundreds of millions of dollars right now. So there is a market. They are competing. That's a good thing. Great news for our cattle producers in Kansas and Missouri, around the country. Prices are high right now. They were losing money for a lot of years. They're now able to make a profit. That's a good thing. And Americans continue to want and choose American-grown beef, and that's fantastic.
There you go. Tracy Mann, 1st Congressional District in Kansas on KCMO Talk Radio. Thank you for the time, Congressman. We really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, go Chiefs. Thanks a lot, Pete.
There you go. Tracy Mann on KCMO. He's ready for the scheduled drop tonight, 7 o'clock. Mark's decked out in his Chiefs gear. He's ready. We know of 2 games. Week 1, home against the Broncos, Monday Night Football, and then Thanksgiving night on the road against the Bills.
And a new update.
What?
In the last 15 minutes, week 4. Should we tell them now or wait till after the commercial?
No, just do it now.
Okay. Week 4 against the Raiders in Vegas.
Okay, you just talked over each other. What's going on? Week 4 against who? The Raiders. Okay, the Raiders.
In Vegas.
Week 4 against the Raiders in Vegas.
Yes.
All right, very cool. Great. 913-408-7957. Ask Mundo anything. We will do that and have some fun with that segment. We do it each and every Thursday at 8:45. Whatever you want to ask, phones are open. 913-408-7957. Ask Mundo Anything is coming up on KCMO. Which one do I have here, boys? Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about catering. Whatever you've got going on this spring, a wedding, a graduation, a corporate lunch, watch parties, whatever it's going to be, let Hy-Vee cater it for you. All right? Whether it's just trays to full-service catering, they'll do it all. Grab-and-go options for your last-minute get-together, or they can do all the cooking, the setup, even take care of the cleanup. Hy-Vee with a wide range of menu options suiting your budget, from ready-to-heat and serve meals to full-service catering, only at Hy-Vee.
Coming up at 10 o'clock, it's Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio, right after Pete Mundo and Mundo in the Morning.
8:48, good morning. It's a Thursday, and that means we set aside this time of the week for a little bit of fun.
It's time to Ask Mundo Anything on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
All right, let's start with Ask Mundo Anything. Terry's in Leawood. Terry, go ahead.
Hey, Pete. I'm wanting to know, you're about the only person I know to ask this. Why is Trump hated so much? I was reading about those brothers at the barbecue joint in KCK that are being hated on. They want their business to go under just because these guys support Trump. Why is he hated so much?
Well, it's a good question, Terry. Here's what I'll say as to why Trump is hated so much. It goes back 10 years. Trump upended the establishment on the Republican side of the aisle and on both sides of the political aisle. He proved the media wrong. He proved Barack Obama wrong. He proved Hillary Clinton wrong. And he destroyed all the sacred cows in the process. And that's in large part, going back 10 years ago, what to me it's all about. And yeah, you know what? Is he crude sometimes? Sure. Does he not conduct himself like a statesman at times? Absolutely. But if anyone who tells you it's all about that or it's just about that isn't really paying attention, because it's much more than just how he carries himself as a politician. I really think that they would hate him just as much, even if he was less crass.
It's just amazing how much hatred and vitriol he I don't want to say he causes, but is around because of him. You know, putting these guys out of the barbecue business is not going to help. It's not going to affect Trump at all. It's just going to hurt them. So I don't get the point.
Yep. Well, it's sad. But you know what? From what I heard from a couple of people, there are long lines at Slaps Barbecue, just like there normally are, in the wake of them going to the White House last week to just be celebrated as a small business in America. And that's the only reason they were there. Not to wear MAGA hats, not to pump up Trump, but just to be celebrated as a small business in America, which is what the president was doing last Monday. And I saw the Kansas City Star shared a story again this morning about Kansas Cityans divided over Slaps Barbecue going to the White House. No, there's a couple of losers online who are upset about it. That's it. That is it. All right.
Ask Mundo Anything.
Rick and Kearney, go ahead, Rick.
Pete, when last we spoke, you were a bit upset at me for blaming you for the Chiefs fiasco. But at the end of Chuck Schumer would have liked that, by the way. I never said you did it. I said I was going to blame you. But
you know,
anyway,
I got to stop you there, Rick. I don't remember being mad at you because people are mad at me all the time. So I'm confused. But anyway, what's your question? What's your question?
I didn't say mad. I just said upset, irritated.
So what's your question today, Rick?
At the end of the conversation, you said you would take the blame. You were used to it at home.
Yeah.
Well, that broke my bubble. I had a vision of you, the great white hunter, coming home from a hard day in the jungle of putting food on the table. You're met at the door by four lovely ladies. You fall into your favorite lounge chair. Your wife's there with a kiss on the forehead and a cold beer. Your kids are taking your shoes off, putting music on to soothe the savage beast. But you say that ain't so?
I'm telling you. No, listen, everyone's always happy to see me when I get home. I will say that. But no one's taking my shoes off, all right? No one is taking my shoes. I mean, I'm better off to try to get Woody to take my shoes off.
Well, okay.
But I do get lots of smiles and lots of hugs. I trust me, I got it made. It doesn't mean though, once I get settled in, and I'm not sitting down, because if I sit down, it's getting to the point where it's going to be harder to get up. So I don't sit down. You just got to get going, Rick. And, I'm just saying, once I get settled in, after everyone's like, hey, Dad's home, this is great, hugs, then it's like, then it's back to being in full dad mode where it's like, Dad, where's this? Dad, where's that? Dad, what do I do about this? You know how it is, Rick.
Where are we going?
Yeah.
We going to eat out?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you there, Rick. We got around to it, big guy. I appreciate the call. 913-408-7957. Let's go to Steve in Lansing.
Ask Mundo anything.
Go ahead, Steve.
Morning, Pete. This is a follow-up from one of yesterday's segments. How much do you tip for a buffet at a restaurant?
I can't tell you the last time I was at a buffet. Well, no, it must have been my brother-in-law's wedding. They had a breakfast buffet. I don't know. I don't remember, which means it was probably in that same 18 to 22% range. If I don't remember, then that's probably what it was. That's my gut. Now, that was also a nice hotel and a nice restaurant. If I'm at a local Chinese buffet, I don't know. I guess it would depend, too, on just how the service is. I would think at a buffet you do at least 15%, but I don't really know because I don't go to a lot of buffets. So I don't know what the protocol would be at a buffet. Let's go to 913-408-7957.
Ask Mundo anything.
Let's go to Dennis in Smithville. Go ahead, Dennis.
Hi, Pete. I was wondering in soccer why they do the minute and second. Something actually happened. Is that for the people that tape it to watch it later?
You called up and asked me a soccer question? That is, I thought hopefully you were having a question on my Pee-wee soccer coaching, but no, I don't really know the answer to that, Dennis. Your guess is as good as mine. I'll probably watch more World Cup soccer the next month than I've watched in my entire life combined because it's here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
That's just where I'm at. All right, Libby and Waldo.
Ask Mundo anything.
Go ahead, Libby.
Oh, hi there, Pete. Thank you. I want to respond to Terry, but I do have a question for you directly. To Terry's comment about why Trump...
Just please keep it on the tracks, Libby. What's your question?
Okay, here's the question. One, did you like Rush Limbaugh? And if so, and if you didn't, why not?
I did. Now, I didn't start listening to him until the most vivid memories I have of listening to Rush Limbaugh was sitting outside of a Subway sandwich store in Mangum, Oklahoma, population maybe 1,000 people, southwest Oklahoma, down near the Red River, summer of 2011, when I would have been 23 years old. And I was down there for weeks on end covering a trial of a prison ward's wife who ran away with an inmate. I was working in Northwest Oklahoma, but there was some tie to Northwest Oklahoma. I forget what it was. So I was down there for a bunch of weeks covering this trial, and it was a joke. The trial would start at like 9:30. They'd be out for lunch by 11. I'd go get a bite to eat at a Subway. That was like the only place in town, and it was 11 o'clock, so Central Time, Rush is coming on. I'd listen to Rush and eat a sandwich from Subway. So yeah, I mean, but that's really when I got listening to him. I didn't listen to him as a younger person than 23. I would say that's the age I was listening to Rush and started listening to Rush, which was kind of later in his tenure.
He was always on at my grandparents' house.
There you go. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's an American institution. There's no doubt about it. 913-408-7957. I got time for one more real quick. Where do we want to go with this? John in Kansas City. Go ahead, John, real fast.
Ask Mundo anything.
Pete, let's get some local programming on in the afternoon. It's getting old. Listen to some of these nationwide guys.
It's
Please.
coming. It's coming, brother. It's give me 3 weeks. And I got something
all right.
for. All right, give me 3 weeks.
We've got to have somebody compete with that crappy show down the dial. They're terrible. They're terrible.
Give me a little bit. Give me a little bit of time. Something's coming. I got it all lined up. All right, it's happening. We got news coming up, and then Mark Alford made national headlines next. Well, Mark Alford's going viral on social media. Missouri's 4th Congressional District Congressman. Some people are upset with what he said this morning on CNN. I actually have not heard this yet. I've just seen the headlines. Mark Alford went on. Who is this? I always see this guy on CNN, and he always looks constipated to me. Doesn't he have that constipated look to him there, Mark? Yeah, thank you. It must be a thing. Yeah. Maybe it's in the water, because between this guy and Wolf Blitzer, everyone there just looks like they haven't gone in a week. It's strange. What's this guy's name? John Berman. That's right. Berman. Yeah, John Berman. Back.
Wrong Berman.
Yeah, wrong Berman. He looks like a John Berman. All right, so John Berman, morning show anchor on CNN, had on Mark Alford and wanted to put him in a gotcha situation around gas prices. Here's what it sounded like.
Don't take our full regimen. If we don't do this now, I don't want to think about what the future holds.
How long is that full regimen, though? When you take antibiotics, you get 30, 5 a day for 6 days. Is this going to be 5 a day for 4 more months? Because how much longer is it going to cost you $100 to fill up your Ford Expedition?
Look, I don't have a crystal ball in this. I do know that we do have control over the Straits of Hormuz right now. Things have improved somewhat. I know Saudi Arabia.
Congressman, if we have control, how come there aren't vessels going in and out of the Strait of Hormuz right now?
Because there's still some safety issues, and Saudi Arabia and other countries did not want us to provide those services where we're escorting tankers through. This has become very complicated because other Middle East countries, Saudi Arabia and others, they want Iran to be dealt with, but they also know that this is a delicate situation. And so I think they are coordinating with the United States of America in this plan to fully open the Straits of Hormuz, to fully get oil flowing through that area so that we can live in peace with Iran and whatever regime ends up happening there.
So that was Mark Alford. I thought he handled himself well in what is, let's be honest, a no-win situation. I give Mark Alford credit for going on CNN, just like I give Quentin Lucas credit for coming on this show every week. You know it's not going to be a friendly, fluff conversation. You know that. Mark Alford, to his credit, is not afraid of that. He's got a media background. He was obviously on Kansas City TV for 25 years. So he's willing to go in there and take some of the slings and the arrows, knowing full well what he's going to get. So he's got the confidence to do that. I think we should be encouraging people of both political persuasions to go on media outlets and shows that may not agree with them. I think that's good for the country. But he's in a no-win situation. I just don't know if you're a Republican what you say right now. I don't. I don't know what you say. Well, we had to get this done because they were about to nuke us. And I'm not saying that's not what Mark said, but I'm hearing a lot of that. Really? I mean, I kind of would like to see a little more to just say that than some people have said that and insinuated that, but there has not been a lot of evidence of that. I'd like to, hear a little bit more. Do I think that there are long-term benefits to this? There can be. It depends on what kind of deal ends up being cut. But in the meantime, you got people looking at, $5, $6, $7 gasoline in some parts of the country and being like, was this really the right move? Was this really worth it? While you've got the profits, obviously, for the oil companies skyrocketing. And I'm not here to blast capitalism or the free market. However, we've also heard for years how we're going to be energy independent, drill baby drill. And now we've got this fiasco in the Middle East where a lot of people are like, hey, wasn't this the whole point of energy independence? And now we know the companies are more or less selling the oil to other parts of the world because of the global supply and demand market. So it's not really, or I shouldn't say it's not obvious as to how this is helping Americans and helping them keep their gas prices down by having more energy independence. So I don't know how you win this one right now if you're Mark Alford. I respect him doing it. I really do. I think he did the right thing going on there. But no one can really answer the question as to how this ends or why this ends. If there's been a big mistake in the last few weeks, I think that the mistake has been allowing a ceasefire. It's not clear to me what's being accomplished with the ceasefire right now. Had we just kept on a pressure campaign, does that then force Iran potentially into a deal? Because right now they love this. They're buying their time. No one's really taking them seriously from the standpoint of negotiations. Like, I'm just asking you, and you're welcomed into the conversation at 913-408-7957. How have we benefited from the ceasefire? I know how Iran has benefited from the ceasefire. They're able to hit the reset button. They've got all the time in the world. They don't care about their own people. They don't have elections coming up. They get to, act like the tough guy on the block. They've got that going for them. It's not obvious to me how we've benefited in any way from the ceasefire. Because what we've got right now is kind of this awkward situation where everyone's just kind of waiting for some deal to come to fruition. And I don't see the evidence to suggest that that is happening. 913-408-7957. Jim's in Overland Park. Jim, what's going on? You're on KCMO.
Hey, just want to kind of point out that, energy independence has kept the oil price from going to $200 or $300 for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
And just, as this thing kind of ends and turns the other direction, because it's a global oil market, everything is going to come down even more. You fix everybody else getting their supply, it's going to push our price down too in the end. So
yeah,
it's going to help us on the back end as much as it's hurting us on the front end.
I think you bring up a good point. I think you bring up a very good point. And the only thing I would add to that or say to that is it's hard to convince people by saying, just imagine how much worse it could be as they fill up their gas tank for $100 or $120, right? Like that, yeah. Just in terms of like having an argument to make, I agree with you. It would be a lot worse if we had the previous administration's oil and gas policies, but it's still hard to say to people, yeah, you're filling up for $100, but boy, it could have been $200. Like, that's just tough, right?
Yeah, well, maybe it's time for people to start thinking a little bit longer term and not just, a week ahead.
Yeah, but, I don't think that's a good – here's the thing, though, Jim. When you've got people living paycheck to paycheck and a record level of credit card debt, they're sitting there and they're saying to themselves, I can't think long-term for myself. Why should I be thinking long-term on this deal? I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying it's a pretty strong case to make.
Yeah, that's valid.
So, hey, good call there, Jim. Thanks for making it.
You bet.
Chris in Leawood. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Pete, good morning.
The Iranians got your phone there, Chris. You there? It's breaking up. Chris, try us back, my man. Try us back. 913-408-7. We'll get to you, buddy. I will get to you. Ron in Basor. What's up, Ron?
Hey, Pete, we're going to have the tree huggers on our side here before you know it, because what I'm hearing some retailers saying that because they can't get plastic, a lot of the manufacturers are going to stop or scale back the amount of products that are being distributed in plastic containers. And so this could change the whole country if we go back to paper and glass.
Well, walk me through this with the plastic.
So some of the people that produce, like for instance, one of the big things right now is motor oil. Motor oil, now you buy it at Walmart and Costco in quart containers and gallon containers, and the oil manufacturers saying, "Hey, we're not in the near future. We're not going to be shipping motor oil in quart containers anymore. You're going to be able to buy it in a 5-gallon bucket."
I did see that. Yes, because of a global plastic supply chain issue.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I think that's going to trickle down all across the industry. We're going to, detergents in the grocery stores, anything, that's in plastic containers. That's going to be all scaled back, and so that could be a really positive thing for the environment.
Yeah, I see. I see what you did there. All right, Ron, good call. Jack in Kansas City, go ahead, Jack.
Back to your original point about what exactly do we accomplish with the ceasefire. I'm a retail investor myself, and I think the only thing that we accomplish is that we are managing our markets and forcing prices to at least maintain some sort of a low inflated value rather than go through the absolute roof. As you said, if we were to, just continue on with the brigade that we were under, I do agree with you. I think that it would be more effective in pushing for an actual end to this deal. But sadly, I feel like we're trying to manage a war and a PR crisis at the same time when you're trying to, instead of affecting policy and actually changing, long-term plans to keep prices and markets and oil and all of that, is somewhat in line. Instead, we're just doing this, hey, we're done for a week, so everybody take a deep breath and buy stocks to then dump them again Monday morning. At least that's how it feels on my end.
I totally agree with you there, Jack. I think that the market's skyrocketing. Listen, it's great for you, I'm sure. It's great if people are looking at their 401k the last few weeks, but it's also not Main Street. It's not regular people. And
like you said, so many people are just paycheck to paycheck. There is no long-term thought that the average American can have. The average American didn't vote for this. They want out of this, and they want a clear path forward. And that's not being offered. What's being offered is a hurry up and wait. This could be worse. Don't worry. We're talking to our friends, and we're going to work this out. And I just don't know how much longer that can sustain itself.
I agree. That's a great call. Thank you very much for making it. Good stuff there. You have a great day. Appreciate it. Good deal. Those are great calls in the 9 o'clock hour. I like it. Coming up, speaking of great calls, I don't know if you'll think it's great, but the mayor of Kansas City was on this morning. And boy, did we have quite a back and forth on Town Topic deciding they're not going to be open 24 hours a day. The most important thing, maybe also the most controversial thing the mayor said next.
I'm McGraw-Milhaven, and America at Night is coming up at 8 o'clock. Roy Orbison, there's a new book out about his life. We'll talk to the author on KCMO 95.7 FM.
Roy Orbison makes me think of Springsteen's Thunder Road. Roy Orbison singing for the lonely. Hey, that's me, and I want you only. There you go. Little Thunder Road. Take it through the 9 o'clock hour, John.
Talking musical icons here, man.
I know.
I like that show.
I know. Yeah, McGraw's doing a great job. I had somebody text me last night just personally and say, hey, Pete, love McGraw at night, 8 to 10 p.m. He's out of St. Louis, and they said it's like a conservative NPR show. I said, that's really what it is, a late-night magazine, right-of-center, NPR-ish style show. He's doing a great job. All right, we got another breaking news alert from the NFL schedule. It drops tonight at 7 o'clock. Mark or John, what do we have, fellas?
I got it.
All right.
We got the Week 14 Chiefs at Bengals, a 3:25 kickoff. I assume that'll be on CBS. Doesn't say right here, but that's on December 13th.
Okay. All right, December 13th. So we have the fourth game of the Chiefs schedule that's been leaked. Week 1 against the Broncos, Week 4 at the Raiders, Thanksgiving night at the Bills, and then Week 14 at the Bengals.
Our road games are leaking out here.
Yeah. 3 of the 4 games that have been leaked are all road games. Okay, cool. Very nice. Very nice. Well, Mayor Lucas was on the show this morning. If you missed the news from yesterday, Town Topic announced that they are no longer going to be open for 24 hours. They wrote on Facebook yesterday, the crime basically is out of control. There was a shooting back on April 26th in that parking lot adjacent to Town Topic where there was a shootout. They highlighted that. They said too much crime. We've got, plenty of security, but our staff's not safe. Our customers are not safe. So they're going to close at 8 p.m. temporarily. That's the plan from Town Topic. I asked the mayor about who's to blame. And since I only have a couple of minutes here until the news, I want to skip ahead to what the mayor said and what his reaction was this morning.
Well, look, it always is, of course, the criminals who, there's somebody who's at an establishment. Actually, they're in a parking lot next to an establishment at 4 a.m. They decide that the way to resolve usually really stupid arguments is to pull out some guns, get in a shootout, and then the rest of us have to flee, have to duck for cover, and have to deal with it, including the restaurant owners themselves who have to pick up the pieces afterwards and have employees who are terrified to come into work. This is something that we have seen far too often. We saw this at Town Topic a few weeks ago. Obviously, we saw it last summer. You and I and the community had a lot of chats on it. And so step one starts with the criminals who are too mature to, I think, even possess firearms. I won't get into a big debate about that, who obviously, when you add drugs and alcohol to it, have judgment that is even more clouded. And frankly, we are all stuck in a city dealing with all that.
That was the mayor where he talked about the criminals, and then he also talked about the property owners. And he's been on this since last summer, saying these private property owners of parking lots and dilapidated properties have to be held responsible. And we got into quite a bit of a back and forth here on this issue with Mayor Lucas this morning.
So, look, you guys can say Quint Lucas is the worst person ever. Maybe people on the left will say KCPD is the worst ever. But you see, there's a central character in this, the property owner, that we need to actually have do something. That's who I'm going to continue to try to address to make sure that they're just as accountable for these things as we are for our neighbors who don't cut their weeds.
So, but if somebody is, if there are illegal things happening on private property, you don't just let that slide. So why is that an excuse for a homeless encampment in your neighborhood?
No, so you're telling me KCPD should start storming on all private property without actually without the permission of the property owner?
Well, if you guys have if there's a meth house in Kansas City, what do you just drive by?
It depends on if you can see it.
If you see people breaking the law in broad daylight on private property, why don't you? No one's doing anything about it?
I hate to get into the Fourth Amendment debate, but the honest thing is the police actually are curtailed somewhat in what they can do. If there are 10 young people standing around, we had this chat last August. If there are 10 people standing on a private parking lot in the summer months, particularly without a sign, as half these places do not have, right? Without proper lighting and all of that. You know how policing in America goes now. Should they go in, break it all up, all that sort of stuff, and then somebody says later, actually, I was lawfully there, I was walking to my car, are, all those steps. No, what we're supposed to do is actually have property owners who take care of their stuff.
So that was the mayor this morning. Is he passing the buck? 913-408-7957.
Vince Colonnese here, and I'm coming up at 11 after Kevin Kietzman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
So we had on Mayor Lucas this morning. We had a back and forth talking about Town Topic deciding they're going to close at 8 p.m. They will no longer be a 24-hour operation at their Broadway location, which they've been in business there for 75 years. And now they're saying 8 p.m. temporarily is going to be our close time because we can't keep our customers or our employees safe. It's a bad look for the city. The mayor put up a Facebook post this morning about it. And, he said, hey, the criminals are to blame. But he spent a paragraph on the criminals, and he spent 3 paragraphs on the private landowners who he believes are not doing their job in keeping people off their private property, whether it's parking lot owners or, just dilapidated properties around town. He wrote here on Facebook this morning, our city is blessed by many great things, but our city is plagued by absent property owners who don't give a damn about their neighborhoods, our community, or anything other than sitting on properties for decades, watching property values appreciate through no efforts of their own. I assume they pay taxes, right? Even if they just own a property, they have to pay property tax on that, right? No, I would assume. He goes on the note here, shouting thugs, clicking your heels 3 times, and casting about for blame is cathartic, no doubt. But this is where I'll be fair to all. Our institutions can always do better, but KCPD doesn't exist to nanny privately owned properties where the owner doesn't care to call. So, as much as there was blame on obviously those committing crimes, there still was this yeah, but going on. And that led to our back and forth this morning on KCMO. 913-408-7957. Let's get to our caller of the day on KCMO.
It's the Mundo in the Morning Caller of the Day on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Al's in Kansas City. He's first up. What's up, Al? Good morning.
Good morning, Pete. Thanks for taking my call. I'm a long-time listener. My opinion on this is that it's very unfortunate. Town Topic, when this incident occurred, they even had 2 off-duty police officers working security for them. So they're already paying top dollar for quality security down there instead of some fly-by-night security company. And these knuckleheads still got into a gunfight with them present. I think it goes back to this mayor and some other leadership issues at the department that don't allow the police officers to do their job. And then when they do their job properly, you have the prosecutor's office refusing to file charges for whatever excuse they come up with. And I think it's demoralizing to the district officers that are on the streets every day trying to do what is right and protect this city. So I think it's just indicative of a larger problem that goes up above the district officers.
Al, you don't have to share your background, but you sound like somebody who either knows a lot of officers or interacts with a lot of officers. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's the vibe I get. And that's good because I want that perspective. And I think you're right to note, Al, that they have off-duty officers at Town Topic, and they still had gunfire, 2 weeks ago now. And if you're a bar and you want to be open until 5 a.m. for the World Cup and you have to submit a security plan, who's going to approve this? Who's going to deny it? And what are you going to do to guarantee yourself that there's no violence? Because I don't think you can do it. When Town Topic can't do it, how can anybody do it right now?
Exactly. I think that the criminals in this town have just been emboldened by what they see. Look at the shooting at the Super Bowl parade. They can't file charges, and they're blaming the Republican governor and the stand your ground law in the state of Missouri, which if you can't protect yourself, then what are we doing here? But to open fire in a crowded Super Bowl parade, I don't see how you can apply that law there.
That is Al in Kansas City, our caller of the day on KCMO. On the text line, Pete, I don't think the mayor is totally wrong. Property owners should have a role in what's happening on their property. But if they call the police need to do their job, then the prosecutors need to do their job, and judges need to hold criminals accountable. Yes, I'm not saying that it's not a part of the conversation. I'm not suggesting that. But when the mayor talks about these issues, he says he's quickly pointing out, yeah, the criminals, yes, definitely a problem with the criminals. But let me tell you how terrible these property owners are. And then we get a lot more on the property owners versus like, hey, who's breaking the law? What are we doing about them in the criminal justice system? Are we holding them accountable as much as we possibly can by the letter of the law? Are we taking low-level criminals and just throwing the book at them because that helps dissuade other levels of crime? Are we doing all of those things that through the history of this country have been proven to work time and time again and keep crime low? Are we doing all of those things? And yes, we can touch on the property owners. But when you talk about the property owners, like basically the big evil people, and there's not a lot of self-reflection on how we got here in the first place, that's where I struggle. 913-408-7957. That's the text line. That's the studio line on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app as well. Pete, private security should be an ancillary effort, not primary. The taxpayer deserve more from local government. Well, that's true as well. How many of these businesses are paying taxes and then feel like I've got to have private security because I can't rely on the security that I'm paying taxes for in this town? And that problem goes back half a decade now. That problem goes all the way back to what happened in 2020. We said at the time it was going to take years, if not a decade or two, to dig out of the problem that we created. And by we, I mean the politicians created in Kansas City and major American cities around the country, where they demeaned law enforcement, they dragged them down, they literally defunded them in some cases or tried to. And then you're like, wow, I can't believe people don't want to do this for a living. Wow, what a shocker. I mean,
talk about a bombshell.
Wow, who would have thought? And now, yes, we've had good recruiting classes in Kansas City the last couple of years. That's fantastic. The budget's there to hire more. Great. But you still just have to bide time as it relates to getting law enforcement back to a place where it's a noble and honorable career for many people, because they bought into the media nonsense way too much over the last 5-6 years. And that is sad, but it's the reality of where we are. John is next up. John, good morning.
Good morning. What you were talking about there made me think about the broken window theory, that in neighborhoods, if there's broken windows, it just has a sense of disorder and allows crime to fester, because who cares about things in the neighborhood? And if you clean up the broken windows, then the crime itself gets cleaned up. And the police need to step up and start enforcing the law against loitering and these people that are causing the crime in that area with that business and other businesses around, and start, actually putting the hammer down. And the crime will go away. They'll scatter. Whenever when the cat's away, the mice will play. Well, they need to bring the cat in, and the cat needs to start catching the mice and letting the mice know who's in control.
It's all right. My head hurts from the analogy, but I like what you did there, John. Thank you.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, you too, brother. That's very, very well done. And it ties into this story. Did you see this? Walt Disney's childhood home here in Kansas City. People are trying to preserve it, but it's getting overrun by vagrants. So this was in Fox 4 yesterday. One of the most historic homes in Kansas City is trying to be preserved by Roberta Young. And Young lives in the house where Walt Disney once grew up, a home that she says has been part of her life for generations. She welcomes visitors from across the country who stop to see the famous property, hear stories about its past. But Young says the growing number of homeless encampments surrounding the area is making that increasingly difficult. Young said trash, discarded needles, stolen cars, frequent disruptions have become a constant concern around the home. Alleyways near the property are often lined with debris. Young is well known in the community for giving tours of the home and sharing its history. And now with the World Cup coming here, obviously, she's got more concerns and she's talking to media about it. Case in point, you've got a lady that has a private property that obviously is vigilant about maintaining that private property. And she's talking to the media about this, and she's still got a problem. She still has issues. She still can't get this stuff resolved. So you can't tell me on one hand, hey, the private property owners who are out there in Kansas City, and they're not even here in town, they're out of town, they don't give a you-know-what, they're checked out, they're to blame. But when you've got a woman saying, listen, we have issues on my property, around my property, I'm sounding the alarm, and still nothing is being done, that tells me the common theme is not the private property owner here. That's actually not the string that connects everybody together in any of this. So it's really frustrating on many levels. Andy, go ahead. You're on KCMO.
I just kind of had a problem with the increase of liquor or bar hours to 24/7. I do not think that we have police for the Kansas City area in total for the hours of midnight to 6 a.m. And really, I don't want drunks driving around when I'm going to work.
I agree with you. And you know what? The mayor agreed with you as well. But I think what happened here is he in part capitulated to the bar owners. So what they're going to do, you are spot on, Andy. And the mayor, if you listen back, if you didn't hear the mayor this morning, you can catch it on the podcast. He kind of admitted to not liking his own new policy, where he's allowing them to stay open 23 hours a day in entertainment districts if they submit a security plan. But he made it very clear that if there's any level of violence at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and it's tied to any of these bars being open, he's going to stop that right away.
Well, yeah.
But we're on the same page, Andy. Thank you. Appreciate the call.
There's going to be drunks.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. Jim, go ahead. You're on KCMO.
Good morning. I appreciate your show.
Thanks, Jim.
Hey, I wanted to address, I've got almost 30 years of law enforcement experience. I've been out for about 10 or 20 years, though, in 3 different states. And the caller that addressed the district officers being able to do their job, the prosecutor has to be willing to prosecute. The mayor and the leadership of the police department have to give the right directions. We understand as public that there are priorities in the police department. We're going to handle felonies before we handle misdemeanors. We're going to handle misdemeanors before we handle infractions. My issue is with what the mayor said, and he was partially correct, that property owners need to be held accountable, and the city can hold them accountable. You know, he said that he didn't want to get into a discussion about the Fourth Amendment. One of the exceptions of the warrant requirement of the Fourth Amendment is plain view. So if you can see something, criminal activity, whether it's what he said, I think 10 guys loitering and maybe playing illegal gambling, well, if an officer can articulate with his experience that's what he witnessed, then he can address it on private property. The same way with encampments, right? If you're not getting a result from the property owner, then we need to cite the property owner. And there is no excuse for the city not taking action on that, I think. And if the property owner doesn't comply, you get a warrant, you remove the people from the property, you charge the property owner for the officer's time, the code enforcement time, the people who cleaned up the property's time, and you lien the property. That's the answer. I've done this, in different states, and I was a law enforcement officer in Missouri. I just think that he was off kilter there a little bit.
Great call. Thank you very much there, Jim, from someone in the know, in the business. Good work.
Have a great day.
You as well. I mean, you guys got it. Smart audience. And sharing that expertise on the law enforcement side, I agree. And that was the point I made. If you're driving by a meth house in Kansas City and you know it's a meth house and you got evidence it's a meth house, if they're breaking the law, I don't think that's a Fourth Amendment issue. And that's what Jim was alluding to right there. All right, we'll wrap it up. Little lighter. All right, little lighter. You want to hear people singing on behalf of, one of the social phenomenons of the moment? Sure. Let's do it next.
from Lenexa to Lee Summit. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Well, new polling, Mark just let me know here, new polling from Emerson College, shared by Fox, shows that our boy out in L.A., Spencer Pratt, never thought I'd be saying it that way. My boy Spencer Pratt, who was a former reality star in the Hills and, had a whole reality show career, is now number 2 in the polling for mayor of Los Angeles.
See, I think being a Democrat in California is more of a status symbol thing than a political conviction. So I think more Democrats are going to vote for him than other people might perceive, because he distinguishes between his Democratic friends and the commies and the socialists.
Bingo. That's exactly right. So Karen Bass, the incumbent's at 30%, Pratt's at 22%, and the far, far, far left candidate, Neetha Raman, is at 19%. If nobody gets to 50% on June 2, there will be a runoff between the top 2 candidates, which looks like it will be Karen Bass and Spencer Pratt if things hold up the way we think they will. You also have more people in L.A. who are starting to back and actually outwardly back in Hollywood Spencer Pratt's campaign. This was at the home of David Foster, a big-time musical composer, producer, musician. He's worked with everybody, right? I mean, Celine Dion, Michael Bublé, Josh Groban. Who am I forgetting? Whitney Houston. What did you say this morning? Chicago?
I was doing, Chicago way back in the day, and he did some movie soundtracks, St. Elmo's Fire, where he had a hit with the theme to that movie.
Oh, that was him? Oh, yeah. That's great. That's a great song.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a big star, right? Him and his wife, Catherine McPhee, they put on a fundraiser for Spencer Pratt this week, and some of the video and the audio went viral. And here is Catherine McPhee and David Foster. He's playing piano, and they're doing a little Tina Turner.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Sing it with me. Better than Karen Bass.
There you go. Better than
You stuck to our hearts. We'll hang on every word you say. We've been torn apart. He's gonna fix this broken.
Maybe it just took a fire like the Palisades fire for some of these people in Hollywood to wake up to the incompetency of the leaders in charge of that city. Listen, we got problems in Kansas City. We talk about them every day, but we ain't L.A. Have a great day. Kietzman Uncanceled is next.
You're simply